15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
So who is going to win a Super Bowl first in their new spot? Jim Harbaugh or Sean Payton? That's the matchup tonight, Thursday Night Football, the Chargers and the Broncos. Got some playoff stuff on the line, too. Both teams can clinch this week. Welcome to the show. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Hi. First coach to win a Super Bowl in their new place, Pearl. Who do you have?
I think the question is flawed, first of all.
Wait a minute.
Yes,
we didn't even start
it's
yet.
Jim Harbaugh.
Okay.
Because he has Justin Herbert. That is just overwhelmingly the cheat code here. That being said, I mean, it's really hard to win a Super Bowl because, as you know, even if you have the second best quarterback in the NFL, Josh Allen, you might not win a ring. I think, maybe Josh Allen will get this year. I think that it's all about the quarterback in this case because they're both really good coaches. I got to admit, I've been watching the Chargers a lot lately, and they are not perfectly coached right now. Harbaugh is sort of coaching like it's 2012 in game management style. He is not super aggressive, and now I think he needs a little adjustment time. You watch Chargers this year, like whatever that Harbaugh thing is, it hasn't taken effect yet. So I think we forgot. When we came in this year, we said he's going to need 2 years to be a Jim Harbaugh team. That's definitely happening. Like the Chargers are not an elite threat in my mind. They will be down the road, but it's still really hard. He's a great coach, right? And he did not win last time. So I think it's going to be hard for both of them, but I definitely think Justin Herbert's the edge for the Chargers.
All right. Well, I mean, you're right because Herbert's the better quarterback. They both are in a tough spot because the division, you have the Chiefs there and all of that. I just think Sean Payton is the better coach. And you might be right about Harbaugh. The immediate impact that he has, I think you're still seeing, which is, the team is a lot more organized. They're definitely looks like they're going to make the playoffs. I would say definitely going to make the playoffs, which was not a given before the season started. So there's a lot of good things with Harbaugh, but I think that Sean Payton is ultimately the better coach. And, I think Sean Payton, we don't know what Bo Nix could be. Is he going to be Justin Herbert? Probably not. Most likely not. But here's the thing. If anyone can put the quarterback they have in the position to succeed, I think that it's going to be Sean Payton doing that with Bo Nix. We thought maybe we knew what the ceiling was with Nix. I don't think that's the case. I don't think we have any idea. And Sean Payton, talk about, having to hit the ground and then getting obstacles just in your face. Having to move on from Russell Wilson, having to take that massive dead cap hit, having to navigate this new building, new ownership, all of these things that go on with the Broncos. I just think once he hasn't even really gotten his arms around this thing. And by the way, the Denver Broncos were picked to win like 5 games this year. And they're going to be a playoff team. How they are a playoff team is like a minor miracle. And that's the Sean Payton effect. So where he takes the team from here, I think I would put my money behind Sean Payton winning a Super Bowl with the Broncos before Jim Harbaugh with the Chargers.
Yeah, I mean, minor miracle or crazy easy schedule?
He's in the AFC West. Can't say that. Cannot say that.
Okay, let's look at some of these wins here. The Jets, they get 2 wins over the Raiders. The Falcons, who stink. Carolina, they got the NFC South this year. That's why that record is so good. That's why. By the way, the Chargers are no different than the Brandon Staley Chargers right now. You say that they're all organized and stuff. They're basically the same 10-7 team who's going to go out in the first round as the Brandon Staley team. What's the difference?
Okay, so it doesn't sound like you think much of Jim Harbaugh.
No, I do. I think Harbaugh is going to be a good coach, but like there's nothing about this Chargers team that is special. And I think he doesn't even like the team that much. I think he's gonna build something a little different than what we see this year. So, but Payton, on the other hand, where's this high? Payton's been coaching since 2006 and won 1 Super Bowl with the Saints, and everything had to go perfectly there, including possible bounties on Brett Favre. So I don't think that it's a guarantee that Sean Payton can do this thing. I think the Broncos are another team that's been mostly a schedule team. Like, they're good. But you saw the Indianapolis game last week. Like, that easily could have gone the Colts' way. And that was in Denver. They did pull out at the end, but did that impress you? No.
Pull it out in the end. They won 31-13. They got into a bit of a deficit because Bo Nix is a rookie and he was throwing picks, and then they completely changed up the game plan, and they ended up having basically what was a blowout in the second half. This is the Sean Payton effect, I'm telling you.
No, they were about to go down 20-10.
I know.
In late in third quarter, and Jonathan Taylor fumbled at the goal line.
Well, he didn't fumble. He dropped the ball, right?
Right. Well, I mean.
Over the goal line. Yes, they got a couple gifts, but you know what? That doesn't matter in the playoffs. See, that's the thing. To me, it's all about getting into the postseason and then see what happens there. I've already told you, Sean Payton came into Buffalo last year with Russell Wilson in a worse team than he has now, and he beat the Bills, a much better team. I don't think that Sean Payton is worried about going on the road in the postseason and playing a quarterback that on paper is going to be much better than his quarterback. I mean, he's doing this all with a rookie, for goodness sakes. Yeah. Rookie quarterbacks making the playoffs in general is a massive deal. Let's not let C.J. Stroud cloud this thing. This is not normal. And the fact that they're a 9-win team, you can say schedule, whatever, dude. I mean, they could also have lost a lot of games on the schedule, and they didn't.
I don't think so. I think if it had gone a different way, they'd be closer to a 5-win team. I think they lose that first round playoff game, and it could be in Buffalo.
That's what I watched Sean Payton win in Buffalo last year with a worse team.
I think, in the regular season, I think they lose by 2 touchdowns in a playoff game. I mean, first of all, since you're a Bills fan, you're scared of everybody, but these are both Payton and Harbaugh. You will admit they are in the beginning stages of this project. And Payton, I know it's been there a little longer.
Well, we're not asking who's winning the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah,
we're asking who's going to be the first one.
Right. I'm just saying. So let's pretend it's a blank slate, and you have Jim Harbaugh and Sean Payton. I would still give the edge to Jim Harbaugh because I feel like Sean Payton is winning at the margins, and I don't think he's going to be able to do that all the way to the Super Bowl. I don't see him recreating. There's no signs of the New Orleans Saints with Drew Brees yet.
He's been there for 2 years, and he had last year Russell Wilson and this year Bo Nix. You can't get 2 more different types of veteran guy who's been around for 15 years and then rookie. Like, you're telling me if you went into a playoff matchup, okay, and maybe besides Andy Reid, but let's be honest, the Broncos should have won that game in Kansas City if it wasn't for a blocked field goal. The Chiefs got so lucky to win that game. But you're telling me that you wouldn't put Sean Payton up against Sean McDermott, coaching matchup that favors Sean Payton.
But you know they're going to lose that game. Sean Payton's going to lose that game.
Well, but again, we're not talking about Super Bowl necessarily this year. I'm talking about in the future, who's going to be the first one. And I'm giving you AFC coaches.
Go ahead.
Who are like factors now and you think are going to be factors in the future. If Sean McDermott gets to stay with the Buffalo Bills, right, you will always give Sean Payton a coaching edge over Sean McDermott. I think you would give Sean Payton the coaching edge over DeMeco Ryans. No disrespect to Ryans. Come on, dude.
Dude, that Ryan Slowick combo, I think they could be something. I think that could be a future force in this NFL. I am really into DeMeco Ryans. I think he's. Oh, come on! You don't think DeMeco Ryans is a good coach? Just give him time. He's young.
I never said he wasn't good. I'm just saying if you actually put on paper who wins the coaching matchup between Super Bowl champion Sean Payton and in his second year as a head coach DeMeco Ryans, and even moving forward, I'm giving it to Sean Payton. I'm going to continue.
I hear what you're saying, but I feel like DeMeco Ryans is absolutely building something. But go ahead.
Okay. What about Mike Tomlin? I think that's even, and maybe even a little towards Payton. If you're giving me John Harbaugh, do you think John Harbaugh and Sean Payton, these guys are on the same tier, in my opinion? Andy Reid, listen, Reid might get the nod. But by how much? Not much. We're talking about creme de la creme coaches here, guys, and Sean Payton is one of them. And case in point, these Denver Broncos are a 9-win team and a playoff team, and nobody expects them to do jack. So if I'm looking forward, and Sean Payton's also not going anywhere either. Like, I don't know about Jim Harbaugh. How long is he going to stay with the Chargers? Is he going to be there to watch this thing all the way through? Or is he going to be like 3 or 4 years, and if they don't get it done, he's going to wear out his welcome? I think Sean Payton, who spent how many years in New Orleans? Almost 20? He's going to be in Denver. He's retiring a Denver Broncos head coach.
He's already 60.
Who?
Payton.
So, I mean, now, guys, Bill Belichick's 72. He could coach for another 12 years.
Do you feel like that strong connection with Sean Payton in Denver? I have not sensed that at all.
I think it's building. I think it's definitely building. I don't think he took this just for the paycheck. I think he took this because he has a chance to have his fingerprints all over this thing. He is the biggest. He's the guy there.
God, I don't see these Broncos the same way, like as a sleeping giant with Sean Payton. Maybe I'm being naive. Maybe I'm looking at them like the 2006 Saints, who kind of snuck into the playoffs and then eventually became a juggernaut. But all these reasons, just like it's still not convincing me. I'm not there. I feel like, yes, Sean Payton's getting a lot of money and he enjoys the golf in Denver. It's just not New Orleans.
And the wins.
It's not New. I mean, come on, look at this. Like they beat so what? They beat the Falcons, who are so reeling.
Okay, but again,
it's just like no, but
you're looking at this season. We're asking who's going to win a Super Bowl.
I know.
First, Jim Harbaugh
I see 2
Sean
years
Payton.
of Sean Payton. I don't feel like he is at this point of his career like going to do the full rebuild and just build a culture like he did with the Saints. I don't know why I have trouble imagining that.
He's already doing it. Because here's the thing. You look at some of the games that they have won this year or games they should have won this year. What's the first thing? I think who's Parcells, Belichick? One of those guys always said, the first thing you got to learn to do in the NFL is not to lose.
Right. Like how he lost to the Chiefs on a blocked field goal.
They should have won that game. They should have absolutely won that game. That's so fluky. And that would have been a signature win for Bo Nix to win in Arrowhead. And maybe people would have been looking at this a little bit differently. But I'm just saying, when you have a coach like Sean Payton, you already come in kind of knowing how not to lose in the bigger picture. So this is where that's the ground floor. You don't have to work on that. You don't have to overcome, these gaffes. And maybe you could say the same for Jim
Payton, because it feels like I feel like Harbaugh has more energy than Payton. Like he is just like, he seems like he's chomping at the bit to sort of redefine everything, where I don't get that sense from Payton. I feel like Payton is a little less enthusiastic. Maybe you could be right by the results, but I just don't feel like he is like attacking this project like Jim Harbaugh is and will do in the next few years.
I think it's really unfair. It's unfair to say that because he's molding a rookie QB. Whereas Jim Harbaugh comes in with maybe what some people believe could be one of the best quarterbacks in the league with Justin Herbert. The assignment for Sean Payton is so much different. And also, like, how do you judge enthusiasm? I mean, I'm watching Sean Payton scream at people on the sidelines. He's doing all that stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's unfair to a guy who's gotten results from this team. To say he's checked out or that he's not giving the full max, like, attention, I think that's an unfair characterization.
Yeah, but
we wouldn't know that.
I do feel like there is something like there's going to be a young Sean Payton who's coming up after him. It might be D'Amico Ryans. I know he's a defensive coach, but I do feel, I mean, let's face it, in a big game, somehow or other, Sean McVay outcoached Sean Payton. Was it McVay back in the 2017?
I mean, did they get the luckiest call on the face of the earth? That was like,
but still,
that defensive pass interference that did get called is one of the all-time bad no calls in the history of the league.
Saints should have blown them out of that game. That Rams team was not ready to be there. It was basically Aaron Donald in a prayer. But regardless, so I don't think, I'm just not so sold on Sean Payton's second act like being like the first. And there's nothing this season that, to me, I know the record. I know they're making the playoffs. I just look at the way the schedule fell. Show me the win like that. They really, really, really impressed you. You might say these wins over the NFC South, but I think those teams stink. Like Atlanta, they blew the doors off Atlanta. I'm totally aware of that. But this is an Atlanta team that had to go field goal against the Raiders. I just don't know what that means.
Well, I can just tell you that the Chargers barely beat the Falcons. And the Chargers are enjoying the same type of schedule that the Broncos are because they play in the same division. So if you're going to say you think that the Broncos got fat on a bad schedule, then you've got to say the same thing about the Chargers. The same thing applies. And I just think if you're looking at big picture.
With that. I totally agree. I think the Chargers are phony too.
If you're looking big picture and we ask you who's likely to win a Super Bowl first, is it Jim Harbaugh with the Chargers or is it Sean Payton with the Broncos? EJ, can we throw the poll up on X at MMP? Just got a big thumbs up there. So that's a little of what we're thinking about as Thursday Night Football gets started tonight. Broncos, Chargers. There is some playoff stuff on the line as well. Both teams can clinch this week. Not tonight, but once the week is over, they need some losses, ties, get Steve Kornacki back out, dust him off.
Yeah, I mean, they're both in really good position here. I do wonder, like, who comes out flat knowing that the playoffs are probably in here. And the problem with the Chargers are not that they're a different team.
Herbert's got an injury.
Since J.K. Dobbins got hurt, they look terrible on offense because Their other running
Tampa
backs.
Bay smoked them.
Yeah. They just do not look like the same team that they did early in the season. I think that Dobbins injury was huge. But that being said, like this game feels like a toss-up. Man, I don't know if we're picking this game at the end of the show. This is tough, right? Doesn't this feel like this is going to come down to 2 plays?
Absolutely. 855-212-4227. And Tampa Bay ended up smoking them basically from the middle of the third quarter on. That actually was a pretty tight game at halftime.
Oh, right. They were, the Chargers were leading, right?
And then they sort of turned it on. I want to characterize that the right way. But the final score was 40-17. 855-212-4227. Who's more likely to win a Super Bowl in their second stop as NFL head coaches? Is it Jim Harbaugh with the Chargers? Is it Sean Payton with the Broncos? And those two teams square off tonight.
All right, Maggie, this is so much fun because you could get in on this game on Prize Picks, the best way to get real money action while watching your favorite sports. Over 10 million members, billions of dollars in awarded winnings. It makes daily fantasy sports accessible to all. The app's simple to use. Pick 2 or more players across any sport. Pick more or less on the production, and you can win up to 1,000 times your money. Tonight, I definitely am going all in on Bo Nix, just in case you're right.
All-time hedge. I love it. Well, it's December. We call that Picksmas around here. Why not? And in December, Prize Picks is giving away 2 free picks all month long. This is the time to get in on the action on Prize Picks. And if I see you guys on the other side of the glass, got a little Karl Anthony Towns, more than 13.5 rebounds, and maybe you want to pair that up with Steph Curry, more than 23.5 points. Justin Herbert, more than 230.5 passing yards. This is what I love about Prize Picks. You can just mix and match your sports because you know we're watching all this stuff. All you gotta do is download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code M&P and get a $50 credit instantly when you play $5. That's code M&P on Prize Picks to get a $50 credit instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.
Mand P. You're in a 4-minute break. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff Show. All right, we got to pull up today. Who wins the Super Bowl first? Sean Payton or Jim Harbaugh? I go Harbaugh.
With their current team. We know Payton already won one.
Right. Oh, yeah. You're right. Who wins it? Well, who wins the Super Bowl first? I think that the English is still valid on that one.
Yeah. Yes, the English is valid. I don't want people to think we forgot about Sean Payton's other Super Bowl.
Okay. I would actually, and I'd take D'Amico Ryans over both of them, unlike you. I think it's really hard to win a Super Bowl. We have to remember that because, listen, it's got to be your turn this year. It's like the Bills have to win one first, and then you got the Chiefs.
I think the Ravens might think it's their year, too.
Do you think the Ravens think it's their year? I think they're definitely down. This is of the 4-year stretch for the Ravens. This is probably one of the worst years.
Well, but it's a healthy Lamar year. And yeah, the defense isn't what we're used to with the Ravens, but Lamar's having an unreal season. Like, we're forgetting about him with the MVP because Allen seems to have already wrapped it up. But Lamar Jackson could easily be winning the MVP this season again. He's been awesome.
But it's definitely like, I definitely feel like the Ravens are way down from last year because their defense stinks.
Maybe this would be the perfect time for the Ravens to actually pull this off.
Yeah, maybe less pressure on the Ravens.
Fewer expectations. But yeah, we've been asking you this morning, Sean Payton with the Broncos or Jim Harbaugh with the Chargers, who do you think will win a Super Bowl first? And obviously, they square off tonight.
You could also do the question, who do you think is more likely to win a playoff game this year? So it's going to be, they're both going to be underdogs. It's going to, especially the Chargers feel like the injury bug is always looming around there. I think it's going to be tough. I think if the Chargers win tonight, that's 2 wins over the Broncos this year. That sort of puts them on a higher ranking than the Broncos. I mean, the Broncos, I know you dismiss it, Maggie, but that schedule is light.
Yeah, but it's the same thing for the Chargers. Like, they basically have the same schedule.
True, but I feel like they're kind of like Indiana Hoosiers football. Like, we just don't know. Or Notre Dame football. Like, it just feels like the NFC South and the AFC South have screwed up everything for everybody this year. That's why all the NFC North teams are 14-2, because the schedules are so imbalanced this year. I'm not sure we've ever had such a have and have not of the divisions, and it's messing with everything.
Yeah, but, easy schedule. Still got to play the 2-time defending Super Bowl champs.
So that's
no picnic.
That's 2 games.
But still. Let's go to Mel. He's in Dallas. Good morning, Mel. You want to talk about Sean Payton?
Yeah. Good morning, guys. How you doing? Thanks for taking the call. I think it will be Sean Payton that wins it first, and not because I have confidence in Sean Payton's coaching ability or the team in Denver. It's just that every one of you guys on the radio and the sports analysts tout how great San Diego is going to be every year, and they flop. So for that reason, I don't have any confidence in San Diego, but I have even less confidence in San Diego than I do in Denver. And then just as a side note, To compare Sean Payton to Mike Tomlin is a travesty.
Why?
Sean Payton has one Katrina Super Bowl. Mike Tomlin has multiple Super Bowls in an open dome stadium in one of the toughest places to play in the country. When you compare those two with all those great teams Sean Payton had in New Orleans, it is no comparison. There is no comparison to Mike Tomlin with Sean Payton.
Well,
Put somebody else in there, but not that guy.
Okay. Well, Mel, a couple things there. Number one, fading sports talk radio hosts is probably a good idea. We do always fall for the Chargers. And,
always.
And it usually comes back to bite us, so solid there. Just a quick point on the resume. Mike Tomlin and Sean Payton both have the same number of rings. They've got one. Now, Mike Tomlin went to a second Super Bowl. He famously lost to the Green Bay Packers with Aaron Rodgers. Right now, playoffs in terms of their records, pretty close. Sean Payton is 9-8 in the postseason. Mike Tomlin is 8-10. So one guy's not blowing out the other guy. And the last time they both had a playoff win, 2020 for Sean Payton, where the last playoff win for Mike Tomlin was back in 2016. So, I mean, you want to say Mike Tomlin's a way better coach? I don't know. Sean Payton had some pretty awful quarterbacks once Drew Brees retired. Same thing with Mike Tomlin. They haven't been able to find somebody since Ben Roethlisberger. I think the guys are a lot more alike than they are different.
Yeah, I feel like their resumes are almost identical in many ways.
Yeah, and then you get the whole Mike McCarthy one Super Bowl club thing. That's what I worry, that is Sean Payton going to be Mike McCarthy, basically second chance and never even come close. It's possible. It's within the realm of possibility. If you want to go playoff record, then Kyle Shanahan's the GOAT right now because that guy's playoff record's amazing.
Yeah, but then what happens when
the Super Bowl record,
Super Bowl record,
not good.
Yada yada yada.
But I think the winning percentage, I think he's 8-4 in the playoffs. That's pretty good.
And you know who else I think is on his tail is going to be Matt LaFleur.
No, LaFleur lost a lot,
but his winning percentage is crazy,
Regular
much higher than you think.
Yeah, but I think his postseason's really bad.
Someone check that while I get to Brad in Alabama, who wants to weigh in on the college football playoff, guys. Starts tomorrow. Hey, Brad.
Hey, guys. What's up, M&P? Y'all doing well today?
We're doing awesome. We got football to talk about. This is the best.
Maggie, man, why don't you and Perloff have that sponsorship from Smith & Wesson and the M&P Shield since y'all talk about the NFL Shield?
I don't know the reference.
Smith & Wesson, one of their guns that a lot of cops use is a M&P Shield. You got Maggie and Perloff, M&P. I mean, y'all totally should have it.
Oh, man. Is this a critique that we're not talking enough college football?
Yes. But back to Dabo Swinney. Now, one thing, if you look at the transfers, Perloff, the offensive efficiency across the country has been down.
Yeah.
And obviously, definitely, the defensive teams have the edge in the playoffs. And that smart dude, Dave Bartu at College Football Matrix, man, he tells stories with numbers. But I think Dabo goes up there. I think Sark is the Ryan Day. I think he's not going to win a big game.
Yeah.
I mean, that oblique of Ewers and what's going on. Do they play Ewers? Do they play Manning? I mean, Dabo's got the experience. He's not going to back down.
But, Brad, doesn't Texas have pretty good defense, too? I mean, they have certainly a lot of pro defensive players on that squad.
Oh, they probably got 4 pro defense players at least right now. Yeah. I agree, Perloff. But against Georgia, the second time for the SEC title, they didn't even show up.
Yeah, I do get that. I totally think there's that Ryan Day, Sark connection. And Lincoln, and put Lincoln Riley in that discussion too, right? Like the offensive genius who you're not sure is tough enough to win the big game.
Brad,
I get that.
Thank you for the call.
Yeah, that sort of is a vibe around college football. I think those 3 guys jump to mind. And Lane Kiffin, that's 4 guys who just the offense can be really good, but do they have that Nick Saban tough enough to win a title thing?
Okay, are we completely discounting the fact that Texas did win a game last year in the college football playoff? No, they lost to Washington. Whoops, they didn't. Oh, man, Mags. Yeah, listen, I think you got to give Sark just a little bit more time, no? Before we give him big game choker?
No, this is they're stacked this year, so No, I mean, if they can't do it with Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning at quarterback and a bunch of other pros all over the field, I'm not sure
that this is going to happen.
Yeah, Brad hit it. Like this is going to be a big test for Sark. Can he avoid that big game choker kind of stereotype, because it's coming?
Yeah, Texas does not have a win over a top 25 team this year. Totally understand that. The SEC championship game was not awesome. Yeah, I mean, does he get there up there with James Franklin, Lane Kiffin?
Yeah. Oh, Franklin, that's another one. Kiffin. Now I don't know if Kiffin probably hasn't gotten to enough big games lately to be a big game choker. I mean, obviously, to me, the guy is like Lincoln Riley. Like, is the Lincoln Riley team is going to roll during the regular season? Are they going to be tough enough to win? Because you saw that Georgia win over Texas. That was pure toughness. That backup quarterback just running over guys.
Man.
Like, it's more than just, you can't scheme your way to a title typically.
855-212-4227. Luckily for Brad and everybody, Clemson is my upset pick. Have them as the big mover and shaker in this college football playoff, which just got the attention of Pat Boyle, who's sitting in with us today. Hey, Pat.
Hey, morning. Yeah, and you think they win outright or just cover?
No, win.
Wow.
Yeah, that's my upset pick. And looking at that side of the bracket with Dabo Swinney, we're talking about people who have won titles, won Super Bowls, whatever. Dabo Swinney has the championship pedigree. And if the fact that Tennessee and Ohio State have to play each other in the first round, and the winner of that team is going to take on Oregon, maybe there's an upset that happens there, which gives Clemson an even easier path, because they would play the winner of they'll play Arizona State.
Yeah, who's favored Clemson, Arizona State? I was wondering that.
Clemson.
Really?
If they beat Texas, absolutely.
Oh, if they beat Texas, yeah.
Yeah, because they'll be coming off of a major
I feel
win.
like if they played now, I think Arizona State might be. I mean, they would just run Cam Scatterboot just right down the heart of that Clemson defense.
If Dabo Swinney beats Texas, he'll no longer have just the championship pedigree. He'll have the portal pedigree. It'll no longer be about just the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. Everybody and the mother is going to go to Clemson to play for him.
No,
now he's got Belichick on his corner in the ACC.
Wait. You're saying if they win one game, everyone's going to go to Clemson?
Well, he finally got the first ever transfer portal player. He got a receiver from some nobody U school. To reference Doug Gottlieb, we'll hear more about that. But he's never gotten anybody else in the transfer portal. Can you imagine how many players will flock there?
Wait, but I thought
they beat Texas?
I thought you were going to go the other way. If they beat Texas, and if they go on a little run here, or just even beat Texas and say they lose to Arizona State, does it prove that Dabo was correct in not dipping into the portal like everyone else? Does this prove that his way works, which is guy gets on campus and they say, we'll make a commitment to you, but you've got to make a commitment to us. You've got to be here for 3 years, blah, blah, blah.
Perhaps, but also then if I'm a college football player, I will want to go to Clemson just because I'll say, whoa, all right, Clemson back on the map.
Yeah, but you don't think guys have been wanting to go to Clemson? It's not like they were winning championships in the 80s. It's not Nebraska. I mean,
do you believe Dabo when he said, hey, it works both ways? When he kind of said that maybe, they didn't get the kind of interest they thought they were going to get from the players that they would want?
I think this is totally a Dabo thing. I think players would go to Clemson in a heartbeat. First of all, you're playing in the ACC, so you do have maybe, I don't say easier shot, but you might have a better shot at making the playoff. Dabo's got a championship program there. I think he's the one saying no thanks to the transfers, not the transfers.
Okay. That's so funny. I've heard no buzz about Clemson. You're like, moving forward, like Clemson's going to be a school choice. They're not cool anymore, are they?
Yeah, it feels like their moment passed.
Yeah.
Beat Texas, and the moment will be back.
Yeah, this is their chance, though.
Yeah, this is a chance to get back in there. But, I mean, they just are coming off. They lost to South Carolina. Then they kind of held off SMU, who was a mess early in the game. Like, they haven't been great this year. There's no way to avoid that fact.
No, it's been a bad Clemson year, which is why a lot of people think they'd be here.
No doubt. And I think they're going to pull off the upset.
I kind of agree.
All right. Well, we're sponsored by Prize Picks. Football season is heating up, and Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. Download Prize Picks and use code PRIMETIME. You can run. Or MANP.
Use them both.
I've got PRIMETIME, so code PRIMETIME and get $50 credit instantly when you play $5. Must be present in certain states where it is lawful to wager. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details. Run. Bowl season continued last night with 2 games. Number 24 UNLV beat Cal 24-13 at SoFi Stadium, finishing off the best season in program history. I mean, what a job Barry Odom did in 2 years there. He left for Purdue before the game, but they finished with 11 wins, only the second time ever in program history. Last time they notched double-digit wins, 1984, when the NCAA eventually vacated all of their wins. Do you remember why?
1984?
Yeah.
For UNLV?
They were using ineligible players.
What do you mean?
I don't know. I didn't research into it. I'm guessing they were using players that were not actually enrolled fully in the school.
That makes sense. UNLV?
No, I mean, I believe it. I just thought that was more of a run-of-the-mill academic scandal that they were taking improper benefits. No?
Perhaps.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a bad job by me coming on the air and not having all the facts.
What do you think we are, Wikipedia?
Two people. Can you name two people who could have been on that 84 UNLV team?
Dan Marino.
What do you mean could have been? What does that
Well,
mean?
I just can't remember if he was there. I think two quarterbacks that were on that team.
Tom Brady.
One is obvious.
84?
Lamar Jackson.
I don't understand the nature of this trivia question that you're asking us here. Is it someone who's on the team or someone who could have been on the team? And I don't even know what that means.
Okay, hold on. Go back. I think there are two famous people that were playing quarterback for UNLV in 1984, right around that time.
I didn't know any famous people played
I was going to say,
football at
Perloff,
UNLV.
if you're going to come with this trivia question, you have to have the answer.
Well, one is obvious, Randall Cunningham, UNLV. But who's the other is the trick one.
So are you just asking who are the most famous quarterbacks
No,
to
who
play
was on
for
the
UNLV?
1984 UNLV football? Who are the two famous quarterbacks on the UNLV football team in 1984? That seems pretty clear.
Okay, we did. That wasn't.
You guys know Randall went to UNLV, right?
No, Randall.
He's like
but
Mr. Vegas.
We didn't know who else was on. What year he was on the team?
I didn't know
Forgive us.
Randall was in UNLV.
Okay.
That's a me
Yeah,
thing.
he's like a Vegas guy. I think Kenny Mayne was his backup.
Oh,
And
was that
the
right?
reason I say that is because he's talked about it a million times. I
know,
think
that's
Kenny Mayne was
vaguely
on
familiar
there.
now.
This was actually a pretty good question. You guys just didn't wrap your head around it.
The presentation I had an issue with.
I found the players were found to be ineligible because they had taken general equivalency diploma tests to gain high school diplomas after they had entered junior college. And then they had three other players who they didn't take gym courses in high school, or they did, and that's how they got their GPA over 2.0. Anyway.
Oh, my God. Also, Ickey Woods was on this team. I did not know that.
Okay, so it doesn't
lot
look
of
like
NFL
Kenny
players on this
Mayne
team.
was on this team. I'm looking at his sports reference for college football, and he was the quarterback at UNLV in 1980 and 1981.
Oh, okay. So he was not. He was gone. But maybe sat there as a backup. All right. Well, Ickey Woods.
No,
and Randall
he wasn't
Cunningham.
on the team. Oh, you're thinking that just because he had no stats?
Maybe. I thought he played with Randall. I remember him talking about that, or he recruited him. Okay, so I was wrong.
Okay.
But if you guys know, Kenny Mayne was a quarterback at UNLV. That's one of my favorite little tidbits of all time.
It's a good one. It's a good one.
I am today years old when I learned that Randall Cunningham played at UNLV, Kenny Mayne played at UNLV. Like this is all fresh. I feel like Manny talking about the 90s. I didn't know any of this stuff. This is all new to me.
Kenny Mayne in person, thick guy too. You could see he looks like a former quarterback.
Like one that wears a flak jacket, too.
Yeah, but he doesn't look like that on TV. Like he's Mr. Clever, quip guy. You're like, that guy's an athlete? Anyway.
So it looks like he and Randall did overlap one season. He was a senior and Randall was a freshman. There you go.
I'm going to have to rework this trivia question.
Yeah, I was going to say.
But also,
you need to know the answer if you're going to ask it.
was
also
like me
Ickey
coming
Woods
on
was on that team. Like UNLV football was a thing in '84. Those are three names we definitely know.
Yeah.
They won 11
Anyway,
games, so.
let's get some NFL sound here. How about Brian Callahan? Been a disappointing season, to say the least, for the Titans. They're 3-11, benching Will Levis for Mason Rudolph the rest of the way, and the first-year Titans head coach had to field a question yesterday about his team being soft. Here's what he had to say about that.
To be honest with you, I think that's complete and total bullshit, if you want my honest opinion. These guys are tough, man. They go after it every day. They play hard as hell, and there's at no point have we ever put on tape at any point this season that this is a soft football team. Like I can't even wrap my mind around how that would even be a conversation. I mean, just because we don't win games doesn't mean we're soft.
Yeah, I don't get this soft thing because everybody calls them dumb. Like that is the overwhelming theme of this season. They have Will Levis doing stupid things. I've never heard soft. Just idiotic.
Sorry, Coach. We didn't mean soft. We meant dumb.
I mean, the fact that
we are not soft. We are stupid, but we are not soft is a great, that would be an all-time defense.
A child could see that Mason Rudolph's better than Will Levis, and he just did not, for whatever reason, he listened to the front office and played Will Levis, and he might be one and done, and he deserves it, I think.
Basically said yesterday he's been playing through that AC joint sprain the entire season, so...
I don't think he had a lot of power in this decision.
I do think you're right. I think he was hamstrung by the front office.
Listen, if this general manager, Rand Carthon, if he was, powerful enough to run Mike Vrabel off, who do you think is calling the shots between that and a rookie head coach?
And to be honest, it's better off they did play Levis, because now you got a higher draft pick. Like if Rudolph wins 5-6 games, like this team is garbage. Like
they
I
need
thought
a
they'd
quarterback.
be good, and they're not good at all. So they need a quarterback. They need high-end talent. Like
definitely.
Maybe they said, okay, Will Levis sucks, but just keep trotting him out there. If he keeps losing, that's fine with us because we know we need a high pick anyway.
They just lost a game, the Bengals, where there were 25 penalties and 10 turnovers. Like, just soft. I mean, moronic. You cannot play like this. They're an utter joke this season.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like he should not be talking tough. I guess like soft is that a code word for coaches that don't like that?
No, obviously not. Football
but no
coaches
coach ever wants to hear their team is soft.
No
you can say
way.
you're bad, but not soft.
And I think that it maybe implies that they've quit on him towards the end of this season, which as a rookie head coach, you never want to have that on your label.
That's fair. Can we put that as a poll question? What's the bigger insult, being called soft or dumb? Stupid?
Definitely.
Soft.
It's definitely soft.
Yeah, absolutely. Meanwhile, several other quarterback changes this week. We can get into those next hour. But most notably, it's in Atlanta, the fallout of benching Kirk Cousins and turning the keys over to Michael Penix Jr. for the 7-7 Falcons continues. Kirk Cousins spoke yesterday. He wants to make one thing clear to everybody.
I didn't forget how to play quarterback. Certainly turnovers were not what you want, but I didn't forget how to play.
I love that.
Yeah, I'm just beyond injured.
I don't. No. This
is about the Achilles, right? Is that what he's implying? No. Is that I'm just not 100%?
You've seen the interceptions. Like no Achilles injury on earth leads to those. Like those are ridiculous mental mistakes.
Yeah, he's totally rattled the last.
Yeah,
month.
he's like throwing it into 4 defenders.
But isn't that? Don't you think that part of it is because his body? He doesn't have like his lower body. He's not able to get any kind of like juice behind the throws.
Yeah, but I think it's more so he's never been a mobile quarterback, and he looks lost in the pocket too. I think a lot of these interceptions, from what I've seen, it's after he's got the happy feet, and then he doesn't know what to do, and it's almost just like, when you don't have that confidence, you're just kind of hoping that you put the ball where it needs to be. I mean, that one play on third down, he threw the ball 5 feet behind Ray McLeod.
Yeah.
And they gave Desmond Ridder nearly threw a Hail Mary to win it.
He had 2 shots at the Hail Mary.
The other thing, too, he had a stretch. I think it's mental because he had a stretch where he was good this year.
Yeah,
on the Achilles.
they were 6-3.
Yeah, he had good numbers. So something went awry with in his head. And it might be the Achilles, right? Like you lose your confidence. But remember that pick where he rolled and threw that lob pass the Chargers caught in the end zone?
That was one of the worst throws I've ever seen.
That's the worst interception of the season. And that's not on the Achilles. Something's off with Kirk. But I guess he didn't forget how to play football.
Really quickly, 60 seconds to play a little game here. Where do you think Michael Penix Jr. was when he got the call that he was going to start?
I know. I already read it.
I was actually shopping. I was shopping with my girlfriend. We was at Costco, and I got the call, and they told me that I was going to be the starting quarterback, for the rest of the season, and as you can imagine, it was some nerves, it was excitement, but I'm just super blessed to be in this position, super blessed to be on this team for the opportunity.
And Perloff, do you know what he was eating at Costco?
Yeah, the hot dog.
Man,
I spent a lot of time thinking about this last night. I'm like,
you knew more about this than the UNLV thing.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, get out of here! You guys didn't even know Randall went to UNLV. EJ, don't laugh. He can afford more than a $1 hot dog, right? Like he's on a number 8 pick. What is going on here? Why is he eating those hot dogs? That's terrifying me.
Let's hear him.
I was actually getting a hot dog, and whenever I got the call, I wasn't hungry no more. So
Costco hot dogs? I've never had one.
Apparently, they're a thing. I've never had one either, but I appreciate this. It's not about rich or poor. He just had a craving. He likes the hot dog.
Costco hot dogs are awesome. Like that's a must.
I think it's a thing there.
Yeah, you got it. Leave with a hot dog.
I find Costco extremely overwhelming. I want to be a Costco person, but I go in there and I'm a puddle in the corner.
It's definitely overstimulating, but once you get over that and you go to the checkout and there it is, $1.50 for a hot dog, some churros, it's all worth it. It's very much all worth it.
I gotta tell you,
I have the membership. I just don't go.
The one in Brooklyn, do not eat the hot dogs there. I'm just telling you that very specifically. Do not eat the Brooklyn hot dogs. They look like they've been there for about a week.
Well, it's a hot dog, so it'll probably survive some kind of nuclear bomb. Pat, thank you. We've got a lot more to do, including another celebrity taking over as head coach. We get to that next.
You're in a 5-minute break.
Kirk to brighter days. Your arm would shine through the Falcons' haze. But now there's Michael Penis, young and bold, and your story's turning cold. He's got the swagger, he's got the spark, while you're left sitting in the dark. The future's his, the past is yours. The Falcons are opening brand new doors. Oh, Kirk, the time has come. Michael Penis is the chosen one. You've got the cash, you've got the fame, but you've lost the love of the quarterback game. Michael's throwing darts, the crowd's on fire. You're on the bench, your stock retired. His youth and skill, they light the field, while you're left watching dreams unsealed. You've still got your millions, your trophy life, but the game's moved on and it cuts like a knife. The Falcons roar for Michael's name, while you're just a piece of yesterday's game. Oh, Kirk, the future's clear. Michael Penis is the one they cheer. You've got the riches, you've got the stats, but glory now wears a younger man's hat. You've seen the highs, you felt the lows, but nothing stings like the way it goes when you takes the field and leaves you behind. A cruel reminder of time's design. Oh, Kirk, the pockets are full, but the game no longer gives you a pull. Michael Penis, the Falcons' pride, leaves you watching from the sideline. Yeah. So here you sit, a wealthy man, holding on to what you can. Michael's the star, the fans rejoice, and all you've got now is your inner voice. Oh, Kirk, it's a bitter twist, but at least you'll always be super rich.
One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
M&P. Perloff, one of your former quarterbacks, played for the Philadelphia Eagles, now taking on a head coaching job. It's Michael Vick, who was hired as the head coach of Norfolk State. And, I don't think he has any coaching experience, but he's got a lot of life experience. And I can imagine that he would be able to, share that, might resonate with young people. I mean, he's been through it all.
Yeah, this is the sort of Deion 2.0, right? Former star player. I have to be honest, I get immediately nervous at players that, I just think of the NBA, like Chris Mullin and Clyde Drexler. Like, just being a great player doesn't mean you're going to be a great coach. So this
Magic Johnson?
Yeah, you can go. Usually when they go back, Patrick Ewing going back to Georgetown, it's really hard. Like, there seems to be different muscles that make you a great coach and a great player. And Michael Vick obviously was just the most talented player on any field he walked onto. How do you translate that to a young man? I'm very interested in how this is going to go, but generally, like, my immediate take is, that's not going to work.
But you know what? With Deion, it's working.
Yeah, Deion, it worked, and also too, Norfolk State is a potential building block.
Yeah,
he's not going to Auburn.
Right, so you have a little time to get your feet wet, under the radar a little bit, at least from the national standpoint, and you get to kind of build. The one thing about what Deion did that at first I was very apprehensive about, but ended up working for him, that I think Michael Vick could also do, which is bringing guys from your NFL days and putting them as coaches. I mean, you guys know I thought Warren Sapp was going to be a terrible idea at Colorado. I'm like, something's going to happen. He's going to be a distraction. And to be honest, I was dead wrong about that, and I'll raise my hand and admit it. Pat Shurmur coming from the NFL as an offensive coordinator, other guys that he has around the program, all these NFL dudes. And so I have to imagine Michael Vick's network is one he could really tap into, or people from Virginia Tech, but where he went to college. But this one, I'm very, very curious, because who knew that he had the coaching bug?
Well, also, too, is his son the best quarterback in the country?
I don't know.
And also, wait.
Like
Deion? Probably a little young.
Deion, yeah, it's looked good, but I felt like the way you were talking about Deion is like he's sort of won a national title. Like,
he took over a one-win team.
4-8 and 8-3. But
he was good at Jackson State.
Yeah, he was good.
Yeah, he was in the championship games, right?
Yeah. But also, too, he again, because he came up through, his kid was in 7-on-7 and stuff, so he knew all about Travis Hunter. Felt like Deion Sanders was particularly placed to do this. I don't know if Vick has the background that Deion had.
Well, the other part, too, go ahead.
Deion's known these kids, everybody. He's known this whole class. Like, everybody in college football, he's known since they were in 8th grade because of his kids.
Right, so maybe he has a little bit more tentacles kind of like into the scene, if you will. But to be honest, he's not really taking high school guys. Deion's working the portal. These are transfers. So he may have a knowledge of the landscape, but he's also just working with the tools he has right now. The one thing about Michael Vick that's very different from Deion, and Deion different from everybody, the personality. I've gotten a chance to interview Michael Vick when he was on a book tour, when he was going through his whole image rehab, which, to be fair, he has totally lived his apology after the dogfighting stuff. But he's not this gigantic personality. He played big, and he was amazing to watch, but he's not the guy who's going to walk into the room. He's a little quieter, I found.
Yeah, I feel like as he gets older, he's got enough personality. That's not really my concern. Also, too, I think everyone's fascinated by Michael Vick. He's got a little bit of magnetism. He once yelled at me, by the way.
Really?
Not yelled at me. He didn't.
Wait, we don't know.
He didn't like a question I asked him. It was the dumbest question I've ever.
Time for this.
Yeah, I could say it later.
Question.
Actually, I'd rather not.
Story.
You know the story?
Yeah, you told me the story.
I'd rather not repeat it. It was so stupid.
Oh, we've got to hear it. We're up against the top of the hour. Okay, next hour, stay with us through the break. We will get the story of the time Michael Vick yelled at Perloff.
Yeah.
Yes. Also, another person who's being asked to be a mentor in a little bit of a different way. But will he actually take the assignment?
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Getting mildly obsessed with the future of Aaron Rodgers. Forgive me. Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. I know you don't like this.
I'll just end your obsession right now. He's going to be the quarterback of the New York Jets next year.
Okay, well, yesterday he was asked about if the Jets decide to move on and draft a young quarterback, would he be a mentor for this new person?
When they drafted Jordan, I felt like I was one bad stretch from being benched, and I, won MVP a couple years. So that's the way the league is. You got to prove it. You can play every single week and through stretches. So if they asked me back and they drafted a guy, I'd mentor the hell out of him if I was playing, and I'd try and play as well as I could to keep him on the bench.
Okay, so you got a couple things there, right? So Rodgers, obviously, he can't start making demands. Like, he knows the general manager's been fired, the coach has been fired. All these things have happened where he has I can't imagine he has much power left in the organization. That came and went. But if they did decide to keep him as a bridge quarterback, which is not bad considering the money they owe him and all of that, it could make a little bit of sense that he would be okay. Because we remember, Pearl, when Jordan Love got drafted by the Packers, Aaron Rodgers did not react well to that. Now, in the moment,
yes, right, but he was cool with Jordan.
I think he was fine with him, but he felt blindsided, slighted. It caused some bad feelings in the organization. I mean, he's pretty open about that. Now, he was fine to Jordan.
Yeah.
But it didn't sit well with him because he felt like he had so much football left.
Right. So he's going to act differently in that sense. Yeah, he was clearly ridiculously mad about that pick. But I know because when he's in New York, whatever he talks about Jordan, he's like, he calls him like, he basically claims his ownership of Jordan Love as like a quarterback. He's like, I taught this guy how to play the game. He takes full credit for anything Jordan Love does, which is very Aaron Rodgers like. But he's going to be a bridge quarterback to who? There's no chance the Jets draft a quarterback. Zero. How are they going to get? They're not getting up to one or two. So who's this quarterback? There's no quarterbacks in this draft other than Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. So I don't think that there's even an option here.
So you think maybe he's saying this knowing that the options for the Jets are limited because this is so Jetsian. But if they actually were looking to add a free agent or trade for somebody, whatever, the hottest name on the market, ironically, is going to be Sam Darnold, who they totally ruined and helped ruin when he was drafted third overall by the Jets in 2018. So that ship sailed.
Well,
he's not going back to that.
Not a capologist, but they can't bring in a veteran, right? Because they're already paying a ton of money to Aaron Rodgers. They can't pay $45 million for Sam Darnold on top of this. So he's talking about like drafting a second-round quarterback or something like. Because the draft's going to go. We all know it's going to go Shedeur 1, Cam Ward 2, and the Jets are not going to be either of those teams. So then, I don't know. I feel like, I'm sorry, EJ, you're running Aaron Rodgers back. You have no choice. You can't re-sign Sam Darnold.
No, you don't have much of a choice, but it just doesn't feel like, I don't know. I'm curious what his standing is like in the building right now because everybody's saying the right things, but you are going to have a new general manager and a new head coach. And are they going to come in and want to inherit Aaron Rodgers? Maybe they do. Maybe they think, hey, this is great. This is Alex Smith on steroids. This is an ultimate bridge quarterback, especially because he still has clearly a lot of desire to play. But you can also understand a franchise wanting to turn the page from such a big personality, considering it hasn't worked out.
Right, like the Broncos did with Russell Wilson.
Exactly.
Take the big dead cap hit. I'm not sure there are a lot of options there because you will have, like, your salary cap's messed up. He's a Rodgers. A new GM comes in. I know the guys are interviewing Thomas Dimitroff, John Robinson, Louis Riddick. I'm just not sure that they're interviewing a guy who's going to be a whole, like, I'm going to rip everything down and start it all over again. I'm not sure they have a choice. Like, it's not that easy to get a quarterback, and the Jets took a risk with Aaron Rodgers. It hasn't worked out. But I actually looked at this yesterday, Maggie, and I was maybe if you squint, Aaron Rodgers' numbers are pretty good this year.
I think he's going to end with numbers that are fine. Like, we all know how the season went. It didn't go well.
He's bad in the last minute of a game, but he's got 23 touchdowns and 8 picks and 3,200 yards, and his numbers are trending up in a big way. If he has 4,000 yards, 30 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, you're going to look back on Pro Football Reference in 10 years to be like, oh, he was pretty good that year.
But we all know the truth because we lived it. We watched it.
I know.
And we'll see. And listen, if they end up beating the Bills, which is not totally impossible, maybe he gets this sort of signature win or something at the end of the year. It's possible.
Well, he did play really well in the loss to Miami, the ridiculous loss to Miami.
Overtime loss.
Like, if you get that, Aaron Rodgers, just football. I'm not talking about leadership or anything. Like, I think the Jets, That would be okay because it's taken him a while to get there where he looks comfortable with Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson. And then he unlocked the key to the offense, just throw it every time to Devontae Adams last week. He's been will you admit he's been a little better?
No, he's definitely been better. And he and Devontae finally looked like they had met before in the last game. And Devontae had almost 200 yards receiving. Now, there's another part, though, about Rodgers. Now, let's think about an alternate universe here where the Jets are actually doing well. And I don't know if he picks the release date, but it would have been coinciding with a 3-episode movie about Aaron Rodgers. And think about how this might have gone over if they were doing great. Like, it would have looked like even more ego of Aaron Rodgers, just like the guy can't kind of stop himself. And I'm not saying it pains me to say this because I think that we can be fair talking about Aaron Rodgers. The movie's good. It's a good movie. I'm interested. I hesitate to call it a documentary. It's shot in documentary style, but this is just from his point of view. This is not like trying to get all sides of the Rodgers story. It's his point of view, but it's captivating. And this is just underscores, though, Perloff. Like, imagine if they were really trying to make a playoff push, and now all of a sudden you get a movie coming out where Aaron Rodgers is taking you down to Costa Rica where he's doing an ayahuasca trip. Like, there's always something else going on with Rodgers is what I'm getting at. And that can sometimes be very distracting. And sometimes it can build up, but it can also take away.
So what does that mean for the Jets as a franchise? Like how they're going to team build?
Well, it just means that the longer you have him and the more like you are to keep him, the more you have to roll with the punches of whatever he's going to present next. Because this whole entire movie about him is all about how he's not just a football player and how there's so much more to him and how he's not going to try to keep those things separate. So if you do keep Rodgers, and then there is another thing, running for vice president, which was real, which you said in the doc. He definitely got asked by RFK to run for vice president. The trips, the drug trips, whatever he's going to say on the Pat McAfee show, like you get it all, and that's part of it.
Yeah, but that all makes sense, and I understand what you're saying. But what possible choice do they have? They made their bet already. I mean, I don't see like a way out unless he retires, and no one's trading for a 41-year-old quarterback coming off an Achilles injury. So I just that all is true. Like you already made that choice. It's a sunk cost, Maggie. There's nothing they can do about this. They have to just take the Aaron Rodgers distractions, I think, and unless I just can't see them cutting him. The other thing, too, is they're a franchise that is prone to distractions anyway. It's not like Aaron Rodgers came in and caused all this problem with Jets facility. They've always had like these issues.
Can I tell you just something that our friend Diana Rossini just posted on social media this morning? I don't know if you saw this, EJ, yet. It's just the headline, so I haven't read the article yet. We're so loyal to Diana. I will read the article as soon as we get into a commercial break. This is Diana Rossini from 16 minutes ago. Woody Johnson nixed a trade for Jerry Jeudy last offseason because he felt his Madden rating was too low.
I actually kind of like that for Woody Johnson. At least he got a metric.
Is a gape.
No way.
Yeah.
His Madden rating was too low.
His Madden ratings? Are you kidding me? The game that hasn't been good in 10 years? That's what he's going off of?
10's being generous, by the way. Woody Johnson plays Madden?
That was my question.
That's also the real question, maybe.
They're really making decisions there in the front office because the Madden rating?
You know who's a Madden rating adjuster? Chad Ochocinco. Are you serious, bro?
Yeah, Chad Ochocinco.
Just hire him to be the new GM.
I see him on NBC all the time, just sitting there playing Madden during the studio show.
Can we talk about that?
I don't know, and it's against Kirk Benker, right, the former Virginia quarterback.
Okay, so that's a great thing. So Football Night in America, let's just pivot for a second because I've been wanting to know the answer to this question for a long time. So Football Night in America comes on before Sunday Night Football, turn it over, and going to a certain commercial break, it's Chad Ochocinco is sitting there playing Madden. They don't talk to Chad. He doesn't say anything to the camera. They don't even acknowledge it's Chad Ochocinco. Is this supposed to be some kind of inside joke? Because Chad Ochocinco is one of the great talkers of all time. I'd rather listen to him than Jason Garrett. I
feel like they mentioned in the last broadcast, I don't know if they're doing some kind of alternate stream somewhere where he's playing Madden during the game.
They definitely are.
Like, they said it at one point, but they don't reference it enough.
Wait, can we get him on the panel?
I mean, I would take him in a heartbeat.
Isn't he on Inside the NFL?
Yeah.
He's on Inside the NFL.
He's good. It's Chad Ochocinco. He's doing a podcast with Shannon Sharp. I mean, at least he's entertaining. No offense, Jason Garrett, but come on.
It's weird. And I agree. I think they're not giving enough information about why he's sitting there playing Madden.
They don't even put a graphic up telling you it's him. For a second, I'm like, is that some kind of look-alike? Are they trying to trick us?
So they did the first of its kind Madden cast that included, I guess, Chad Ochocinco. That was the.
How many weeks ago was
I guess
that?
this was exclusively on Peacock. Oh, they do. Oh, sorry. So it's coming up this weekend. So Saturday, if you want to watch.
Okay, wait.
Ochocinco play Madden.
Now we're just doing a commercial for Peacock. They need to do their own commercials because we're actually in this stuff. We live it and breathe it, and we have no idea what's going on. Can you imagine what just someone who tunes in for Sunday Night Football might think?
It's bad. It's bad. But no worries. The Jets are basing their whole roster based off of Madden ratings. That's probably why Aaron Rodgers come back. I'm sure Madden ratings is still pretty good.
That's a great nugget here from Diana.
By the way, that tells me that Woody Johnson is definitely taking his advice from his 16-year-old grandson. That's definitely what's happening.
Yeah.
They also say he scrolls on social media and then will ask.
Well, that too.
He'll make decisions or he'll ask the coaches questions off of what he sees off social.
He definitely got that one right on Judy. Judy is a problem.
He's
all
been
the
good
talent
for the
in the
Browns,
world.
though.
What's that?
He's been good for the Browns. Though.
I know but if as a former Broncos fan for a little while, Judy will kill you. Just as he will make a big mistake at the wrong time. That's the thing with Jerry Jeudy, all the talent in the world, but he got traded for a 5th round pick. There's something wrong with him. It's he would have been a disaster with the Jets. I'm just telling you this right now.
Okay, but this is one person we know of. Who else could he possibly be? By the way, he's nixing trades. Get out of the football side. Get out of there.
No, you got that one right. I like him. And by the way, Joe Shane's kid's new to draft Jaden Daniel. What's wrong with the teenage sons?
I know. Unfortunately, his son didn't have a good idea of how to get to the number 2 pick.
It sounded like he had a pretty concrete plan. I was like, move over. Joe is evaluating. He's like, whoa, did you guys know that this guy was the leading rusher in the nation last year? I'm like, oh, that's your analytic? Anyway, I am totally on Team Woody Johnson on this one. I would go to Twitter and social media before some of these GMs.
Oh my goodness! So you got to be kidding me! First of all, owners should not be doing this. Don't do this. Let your football people do this kind of thing. Number one. Number two. I mean, we must have a paper trail of other people he's either nixed, and then the other part of it. How about people he's demanded? Tim Tebow, we knew, was one of them. But other people where he has facilitated the signing, where he must have the signing. What a joke.
So I ask you once again, who's the starting quarterback week 1 for the Jets next year?
It's Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. And are you going to think they're going to be any good? I do. I think he's going to have a good year next year because it's a 2-year injury and he'll be back.
I can't do this again.
That was a very pregnant pause right there.
I can't because I can't do this again. I can't do the Jets and the roster's so awesome and this, that, the other. I'm not falling for it again.
10-7 next year. Calling it right now.
Well, I mean, that's not so far off from where they were 7-10 with Zach Wilson 2 years ago.
10-7 would feel like you should have a parade down Broadway at this point.
855-212-4227. Do not worry. We have plenty of college football for you guys. College football playoff starts tomorrow. Notre Dame's playing Indiana tomorrow night. And then 3 games on Saturday, along with 2 NFL games on Saturday. It's going to be a wild weekend. 855-212-4227. Thursday Night Football tonight. You've got the Chargers and the Broncos. We're asking you, who's more likely to win a Super Bowl first with their new team? Is it Jim Harbaugh or is it Sean Payton? You're welcome to go vote at Maggie and Pearl on X. Okay, lots more to do, including, as I said, college football. We're going to give you our breakout star player from the college football playoff and also a little bit of a matchup issue that I'm seeing in one of these first round contests. Do that next.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff Show. We have a special guest coming very shortly. pro wrestler Chris Jericho. We were going over his filmography, and I was telling Maggie about the Terrifier movies. Now, Manny doesn't know what that is. Pat Boyle, do you know what the Terrifier movies are?
Is that the clown?
Yes.
I have actually. I'm a big horror fan movie.
Yeah.
I haven't seen those, and I've been told a couple of times I have to watch them.
I've heard that even horror fans find them off-putting. They're just so scary and bizarre and weird.
I heard it's very gory and gruesome and twisted, which is right up my alley.
I was going to say, what do you get out of this, Pat? Like,
explain horror movies to us.
The psyche, I just, it's not that I don't get it. I understand horror movies have been around forever. It's not my cup of tea. But like, so after you watch these really disturbing horror movies, then the movie's over. What's the first thing you're doing? Do you like sit there and think about it? Do you just go right to sleep? Like, are you, like, how does it make you feel?
That's a great question. I've never been actually like asked to psychoanalyze why I love horror movies. What part of our brain
got psycho right?
And that's tame compared to some of these movies. I mean, Alfred Hitchcock would probably be rolling over in his grave if he could see some of the stuff that's going on now.
Yeah, I don't know. Like the Saw movies, like I loved those when I was like 10. Like I begged my dad to take me to see Saw.
Is that because you thought it was cool, or because it really there's something about it that speaks to you?
I like gore. I don't know. I like
Scratches
violence.
an itch.
Yeah, I have no idea why. If you're actually asking me, I'm sitting down in the therapy couch here with Dr. Gray.
Exactly. I need to see something bloody. Mm-hmm.
Well, we're talking about. My understanding is horror movies in the last 5 years have become much more popular than they've ever been. Obviously, like every other movie, it's either a Marvel movie or a horror movie. That's the only thing that gets into theaters anymore.
Do you think this is a greater commentary on our society?
I don't know why. I mean, they've always been big. Obviously, like Freddy Krueger was
Halloween.
big. But now, like in the whole A24 thing, like it's half the movies made are just terrifying. And Terrifier 2 is interesting too because or 3 now. Art the Clown, the bad guy. I heard the scariest thing about him, he has no motives to kill. He just kills for pure joy.
For the spirit,
sport.
Just for the sport
Kills
of it.
for sport. I think two things. I think one, you go into it knowing this isn't real.
Yeah.
So it's entertainment. But I think the second thing is I think whatever part of our brain or our hearts, we like to feel that feeling of being scared.
Yes.
And I can't explain it, but I enjoy them very much so.
All right, well, let's get to the headlines because our guest Chris Jericho has just arrived. So we'll get to some headlines and then we'll bring him right into the studio. What do you got
Chris
today,
Jericho,
Pat?
why he likes scary movies. He's scared a lot of people, I'm sure.
This is what we want to know. What is it about the psychology of terrifying movies? And he was in Terrifier 3. Go ahead, Pat.
Now, we're sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Protect your home and auto. Save when you bundle. Get a quote at progressive.com. We hit 2 bowl games last hour, but off the field made some of the top headlines yesterday. Portal alert. Biggest name so far off the board. Former Washington State QB John Mateer, ranked the #1 player in ESPN's transfer rankings, is headed to Oklahoma. And this kind of became an obvious move. The Sooners hired Wazoo offense coordinator Ben Arbuckle and their QB coach earlier this month. Mateer stepped into the spotlight after backing up Cam Ward the last few years, threw for over 3,100 yards and 29 touchdowns, also ran for over 800 yards and 15 scores on the ground. College hoops, couple of high-profile games last night, including an electric finish at the Jumpman Invitational in Charlotte.
Donaldson at half court with 7. Right side, they're not going to use it. Up top, Wolf back to Donaldson. 3-pointer for the win for Michigan. Back iron miss. Rebound battered around. It's up. It's no good. You cannot hitch the wagon. Put the ponies in the barn. The Sooners are still undefeated.
Sooners Radio Network from Learfield. The call, number 14, Oklahoma, now 11-0. They beat 24th-ranked Michigan 87-86. Elsewhere, number 6, Alabama struggled to finish off North Dakota 97-90. I think that pales in comparison, though, to Doug Gottlieb in Green Bay losing to a D2 school after he called them Nobody You. We'll have some sound on that later, but hilarious. Number 9, Marquette committed just 2 turnovers in beating Butler 80-70, and Alex Caravan had 7 of his 20 points in overtime to help 11th-ranked UConn hold on to beat Xavier 94-89. NFL, several QB changes this week. The most notable is the Falcons, 1 game back of the Bucs in the NFC South, benching Kirk Cousins from Michael Penix Jr. We heard from both of those guys last hour. In Cleveland, it's Dorian Thompson-Robinson for Jameis Winston. The Giants, disgrace that they are, going back to Drew Lock instead of Tommy DeVito or the great Tim Boyle. Titans benching Will Levis for Mason Rudolph. And then a couple of QB decisions that come down to a combo of health and performance. Raiders hoping Aiden O'Connell will be good to go. He's carrying a knee injury, but if I'm Mark Davis, I would do anything short of giving him food poisoning.
You got to make sure this dude can't even show up to the stadium.
How do you not just play Desmond Ridder and just lie and say he gives us the best chance?
You got to cut the brakes on this dude's car. I mean, he cannot make it to the arena. You have to lose every...
for tanking?
Yeah.
Come on, it's AOC. He's not... it doesn't matter.
I know you've watched Desmond Ridder play quarterback. He sucks.
You have to leave no doubt here. By the way, we're getting some interesting responses to our horror movie question. Travis in the chat saying everyone has a kink, and that's why people love horror movies. Also, GG's just saying that they're a waste of time. See, I don't think it's a waste of time if all these people love them, want to watch them. But everyone has a kink? Is that a good enough explanation for why horror movies are popular?
No, I mean, I understand. Like, yeah, everybody probably does have a kink, but there's something about the being scared people enjoy.
That's true.
I don't think it's necessarily an arousal thing.
I don't know. I think they're using kink for
Pat.
shorthand as a passion. Yeah, Pat, you. When I said, what do you do the moment the movie ends, the look you gave me was creepy.
Come on. That's unfair. Saints have to decide if they want to give Spencer Rattler another shot or go back to Jake Haener. And then the big one is Mahomes, full participant in practice yesterday. Looks like more and more like he might be able to go against the Texans on Saturday. By the way, did you see Adam Schefter relayed the Chiefs tweet of what Mahomes gifted his offensive lineman?
Oh, no. What did he get him?
So I want you guys to tell me what you would want most out of this, and I guess probably more applies to Perloff than you, but most of them are unisex gifts. So the picture it's like a big red Yeti cooler.
Okay.
Some kind of cowboy boots. There's no other way to put it. They look like cowboy boots. You've got a Rolex watch. You've got the Normatic Elite, the recovery pants.
Okay.
And then what looks like a pair of white, those look like Gucci sunglasses to me, but they're a nice pair of designer white sunglasses. So Yeti cooler, cowboy boots, Rolex watch, recovery pants, white sunglasses.
But they get them all, right?
Yeah. Which of those would you want the most?
I like you say, the recovery pants. I've never heard of recovery pants. I've never worn them.
Yeah.
I already have 2 Rolexes, so I'm probably going to go with I'm fascinated by these sunglasses.
Yeah, they look nice.
I'm sure we'll go
I
with
would
the
go
Gucci's.
with the Rolly.
We'll go with the Gucci's. Pat, thank you so much. All right, coming up, Chris Jericho in the house. Of course, the Ring of Honor world champion is here. New king of New York. We're going to get his thoughts on horror movies and everything else right after this. It's Maggie and Perloff. Don't move.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Unmistakable. Chris Jericho in the house, of course, the Ring of Honor champion. He's now with AEW and has been with AEW. He's a 9-time world champion. I don't know if I lost count at some point, Chris. A New York Times bestselling author. He's a movie producer. He's the lead singer of the band Fozzy, which has toured worldwide. What don't you do? The multi-talented Chris Jericho here with us in studio. How are you?
Westchester on Sunday.
I'm sorry, the new king of New York as well, because you're going to be at Hammerstein Ballroom with AEW, and that's tomorrow night. Super exciting. You know, there's so many ways to go with you here, Chris, but I love what you're doing now is called the learning tree. You've always found a million ways to reinvent yourself, and this is one where you're taking on this mentor role. I mean, who mentored you? Who do you credit for laying the groundwork?
I don't think there's one particular person, because my career went in phases around the world, like starting out in Canada, then going to Mexico, and then ending up in Japan, and then kind of going through the smaller companies in the States to end up, here in AEW. So there was quite a few, but probably the biggest mentor as far as understanding the psychology of wrestling would be Pat Patterson, who worked in the WWE for years. In the office, kind of taught me a lot about psychology, about how to put together matches, when to do things, when not to do things. And that's so important because wrestling is show business. It really is. And it's telling a story if you want to get into the specifics of it. So a guy like that was kind of the Yoda of pro wrestling, and I was strapped onto his back, running through the swamps of Dagobah to learn the true ways of the pro wrestling Jedi.
Sorry, is the psychology your opponent, the audience, yourself?
It's how to engage the crowd, how to manipulate the crowd. You know what I mean? So that's really what we're doing is you're hooking people. And if you can get the crowd involved in what you're doing, and that goes for any type of live entertainment, wrestling, music, stand-up comedy, Broadway, if you can connect with the audience and make them interested in what you're doing, they'll always want to come to your show.
Great. So I
There you go.
I was manipulated earlier today, watched your King of New York promo, and I said to Maggie, I'm like, he doesn't really know New York. He doesn't love this city. And I was like, and now I just realized I'm a sucker. Just
Well, that's the idea, right? We're doing these 3 shows at the Hammerstein Ballroom. And the idea of the King of New York came up. And this would be kind of like doing everything that a native New Yorker would not do. And if you see the video we did last night, going to have a pretzel and riding on top of the tourist bus and going to, Radio City Music Hall or the Rockefeller Center to the Christmas tree. So that's the point of it. And it's actually pretty funny because when I started, I kind of dropped these little things like, when I went through the Hell's Kitchen in the Bronx, and Paul Stanley from Kiss sent me a Wikipedia image of like where Hell's Kitchen really is. And I was like, well, it's not, I know it's not in the Bronx.
Yeah, right.
That's the
He
point.
fell for
I'm the King of New York,
Yeah.
right? So once again, you're talking about reinventing, and that's something that's also very important, and getting people talking. Like, what is this guy doing? But the best thing about it is when you're a heel, a bad guy, there's a kernel of truth. I am from New York. I was born in Manhasset on Long Island. So I'm the King of New York because, I'm a New Yorker.
Yeah.
Even though I've never once ever said that ever. I'm from Canada. I grew up in Winnipeg. But that's kind of part of the fun of it, where it's like, you can't say I'm not a New Yorker because on my birth certificate it says I was born in Manhasset. So I am the king. I do have a claim to being the King of New York.
It's so deeply offensive to a New Yorker when someone comes and goes to Sbarro in Times Square.
Literally, right?
Yes, get pizza at Sbarro. So Maggie knows I'm a huge Roddy Piper fan, and I watched his documentary recently, and there seems like I was curious about pro wrestling in Canada. He came up in Canada, and it seems like there's a lot of pro wrestlers in Canada. Is there is it just like something? Is there a bond there, or like did you originally train there?
Yeah, I trained in Stu Hart's dungeon,
Yeah.
the famous place. But Canada is a very big wrestling country, and I think something in the beer, maybe. I don't know what it is, but a lot of great pro wrestlers come from there.
Did you want to play hockey too?
No, I was terrible at hockey. I wanted to be in a rock and roll band, and I wanted to be a wrestler. So I played hockey. My dad obviously played for the Rangers, Ted Irvin, from 70 to 75. Glory years of the Rangers in a lot of ways. And I wanted to play. I did play. I just wasn't very good at it. And that's the thing when you're like the son of an NHLer, everyone expects you to be this wizard on the ice, and I just wasn't. I was too interested in other things. I was interested in the show business part of things, and it wasn't very much. I still am not a great athlete. I just fake it really well.
I mean, that's crazy to hear, though, because when you are in the ring, it is athletic.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And you see the way that the guys have advanced athletically in this day and age. I remember when I first started to do a backflip, a moonsault, we call it. It was like the epitome. If you could do a moonsault, you were like freaking Greg Louganis, the greatest thing ever. Now it's like a moonsault, like you could do that like as the first move of the match. It's advanced so far, but that's how it's like any other sport. The athletes get stronger and faster and better, and it's great to see. But once again, going back to what I said earlier, it still boils down to character, charisma, personality, and engaging the crowd. That's the most important thing about pro wrestling.
Chris Jericho is in studio with us. AEW, he's the Ring of Honor world champion, of course, and AEW is hosting three shows at Hammerstein Ballroom Friday, of course, then Collision on Saturday and Dynamite on Sunday. You guys are taking over New York, and we're so glad you woke up early and came in here for us. And, there's so much that's interesting about your career specifically because you are mostly known for being a wrestler, but you have branched out into so many different things. And I was actually watching a sort of documentary movie about Aaron Rodgers recently, and he said that he won the Super Bowl, and the first thing that he thought of is, okay, what's next?
Right.
Like he thought that winning the Super Bowl was going to fulfill him in this way. And I'm kind of curious if you've guarded yourself against that because you've reached the ultimate heights of wrestling. You are doing that now, but you have so much more in your life. Was this intentional so that, when you did get to the top of the mountain, you didn't look around and say, oh gosh, like this is not as fulfilling as I thought it was going to be?
No, I think it, of course, is fulfilling always. But to me, once again, going back to what I said earlier, like I was always into other things. I wanted to play music and I wanted to act and I wanted to do other things. And when I first started in wrestling, I was a small guy. So once again, I knew I could never be the biggest guy in the show, but I could have the biggest character and the biggest personality. So I came into wrestling with a different mindset, entertainment, 1,000%. So when I started getting, like you mentioned, to the top of the quote unquote mountain in wrestling, I still wanted to do other things.
Yeah.
And never leave all the eggs in the in the wrestling ring basket. So it's not something that was ever calculated. It's just who I am. I appreciate so many different things. Like you mentioned my podcast earlier. When I first started doing it, gosh, over 10 years ago, I said to my boss at the time at Westwood One was the network, like, this can't be just a wrestling podcast. He's like, well, what else are you going to talk about? I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, don't even get me started. Like, what am I not going to talk about? And so that's always been kind of something that I've always based myself on. I enjoy so many things. I enjoy music. I enjoy acting. I have my own cruise. I have my own podcasts. I've written books, like you mentioned. Fozzie's gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. So when Fozzie got bigger, I started another band that we've been working on. So there's just a lot of different things that I continue to be creatively fulfilled. And if I can feel that I'm creatively fulfilled, then I'm happy doing what I'm doing.
How on earth do you have time to do all of it, especially because of all the travel? Like, I can't imagine. I can barely manage my life, and I'm in New York all the time. Has this been something you've learned to do, or have you always been organized?
I think it's just something I've been doing my whole life. So it's like, you just get used to it, right? And it's not easy traveling. You know this. So I think, once again, when I started doing it as a teenager, here I am 34 years later. It's just the way it goes. So it's not quite as crazy as you might think. But if it starts getting crazy, then I'll pull back and just take a little bit of time off.
Well, when you come to New York and you go get a big soft pretzel, I can tell you've living
that pretzel was so stale.
Oh, yeah.
I took one bite and I was like, oh my gosh, this is terrible.
Chris, don't tell anybody. This is how we get the tourists to come to New York. Come for the soft pretzel and then bite into it and you'll break a tooth.
Yeah, right.
Chris
I
Jericho.
asked the guy for some salt. He gave me 2 shakes. I'm like, come on, it's salt.
There's no amount of salt in the world that's going to make that thing good. So what you're doing right now with AEW, and again, 3 shows, Hammerstein Ballroom. You're doing this thing called the Learning Tree, as I mentioned. And it's kind of like the thing is like the mentoring of others. So what's the biggest mistake that you think young wrestlers are making right now that you can try to correct?
I don't think there's really many mistakes you can make. I think that's how you learn, is by making mistakes. I think the biggest thing where the business has changed that's a little bit of a hindrance to younger guys is when I started wrestling, you would be on the road, like, working 4 or 5 days a week. Like, WWE schedule in the early 2000s literally was four shows a week every week, 50 weeks a year. You would go to Japan and work, 18 shows in 20 days. You're constantly wrestling. That's how you get better. Nowadays, it's so TV based. Younger guys might have a match, every 2 or 3 weeks, or 2 or 3 matches a month. You need more matches to learn, and everything now is on TV, which is hard too. We used to do which were called house shows or non-televised matches, where you'd go work in, Drumheller, Alberta, in front of 50 people, and there's no TV camera, there's no phones, no one's ever going to see it. So if you completely screw up, it doesn't matter. That's how you learn, by making these mistakes. So I think that's the hardest part about being a wrestler in this day and age is just not enough reps. So a mistake would be not to take chances. You have to take chances in the business. You have to just go for it. And it's harder to do that when you have hundreds of thousands of people watching. And also, too, then you might go on to X, or you might go on to Instagram. You might read bad reviews, and everybody's a critic, and everybody hates everything. And that can kind of get into your head as well. So I think another big mistake is listening too much to social media. But that's just the way of the world. It's hard to shrug that off. You have to have a really thick skin. You guys know for your show. If you look at any review, oh my gosh, Maggie, it's like,
we're getting it in real time.
Just shut up. I mean, it's you try it then. So, but once again, I mean, the business always changes throughout the years, and you have to just stay ahead of that and go with the flow.
Do you know who, when you see a young wrestler, can you tell who's got it, who's got potential, or can you say, well, I don't know if this guy's got it, but I can work with him? Is it automatic?
It's not automatic, and I've had a few factions. My role in AEW has been a mentor in a lot of ways, and we started with the Inner Circle, and then we went to the Jericho Appreciation Society, and then we went now with the Learning Tree. So, a guy like Sammy Guevara, who was with Inner Circle, and then a guy like Danny Garcia, who was in Jericho Appreciation Society, then Big Bill and Brian Keith now in the Learning Tree. They're all guys that are just excited to learn and want to get better. And that's kind of my role in the show, is to help guys learn and hear different ways of doing things. And like I said, don't be afraid to take a few chances, and don't be afraid to do something that might connect with the audience. I can't stress it enough. You have to have that charisma and that personality in this business. I don't care how many great moves you can do or how many great matches you can have. A great match is a great match until the bell rings and the 3 count is done, and then it's forgotten. It's the characters and the story that gets you to that match that makes the difference.
Yeah, I mean, if you were looking back and you could talk to your 16-year-old self, what would you say? Would you have been surprised how far you've come, or did you kind of know back then?
I don't know. Like, I remember it's all relative. Like, when you first start, I just wanted to have a match. If I could just have a match, then, man, I'd be there. And then you have a match, and it's like, wow, well, if I could just get another match. And then if I could get another match outside of Alberta, because that's where I trained, and then you suddenly get a match in Winnipeg, and then we're going to the States, Pomona, California, at a flea market, a Mexican flea market. I'm in. I'll drive 36 hours to go. So it all becomes relative, and I think Gene Simmons said the best part of a long career is the early days, because you don't really know for sure, and everything is golden, and everything's ahead of you. I knew I would do something. I didn't think I'd be doing as much as I'd done, at the risk of sounding a little egotistical maybe, but I guess sometimes you have to look back and just kind of enjoy it all. But for me, I'm still in the thick of it.
Yeah.
I'm still here and still enjoying what I'm doing. When people say, what's your favorite era of Chris Jericho? I always say this one.
Yeah.
Because if it isn't this one, then why am I doing it? There's been other ones that I've enjoyed, but I like the Learning Tree. I love the King of New York. It's so amazingly preposterous, but you play it straight.
Yeah.
Like, skating around Rockefeller Center with the Ring of Honor championship title on your shoulder, but not making a gag of it. Like, you look back and go, is he really doing that? That's ridiculous, but that's the fun of it, And if you think of it like that way, you laugh. If not, of course he's going to be skating around Rockefeller Center.
Well,
why wouldn't he?
And it's also, you're in this video where you're doing this King of New York thing, and you're deadpanning it, being in Times Square, which is like nothing that a real New Yorker would ever really
the point.
do.
You get
it's
it.
the point. But you're also a great skater because you grew up in Canada. Dad was a professional hockey player.
Here's the thing, too, though. You go onto the ice at Rockefeller Center, and anybody that plays hockey will know this. They give you these kind of janky skates
of course,
that have like one strap, like a ski boot. They're not laces. They're molded skates, ski boot. Now you go on the ice. Here's the difference. I'll warn everybody. They're speed skates. They're not hockey skates, which means they have no edge to them. Which means if you try and skate, you will fall. And if you put your toe too far up, they've got the ice pick toes. You will hit your toe and fall. And this has happened to me time and time again. Whenever you go public skating and you're renting skates, it's always speed skates. So you got to be careful. So if you watch how I skate, I'm not even lifting my feet. I'm just basically gliding around the ice, because if you lift your feet, you will fall down when you're used to skating on hockey skates.
And you're navigating all these tourists. Chris Jericho is here with us in studio. He's going to be defending the Ring of Honor World Champion. The main event, the Ring of Honor Final Battle against Matt Cardona this Friday night, Hammerstein Ballroom. I should have mentioned you should watch live, watchroh.com. And you got 3 shows at Hammerstein Ballroom, so this is really cool. You guys have taken over the city in AEW. It's fantastic. Okay, so you have like a unique career because we said you've done everything, right? Wrestling, all that. We were talking about horror movies.
Right.
Yep.
You're in one of the most terrifying ones. I don't watch them. I'm just going to be honest. I don't watch them. I don't even want to hear about them. But because you're here, I'll put my fears to the side. We're talking, what is the psychology of this? What drew you to horror movies? Why do people love this? What does it give them?
So you're talking about Terrifier.
Yeah.
Yep.
I've loved horror movies since I was a teenager. So when I saw the first Terrifier, very low budget indie movie with this killer called Art the Clown, And I watched this movie. It was so over the top, gory, and the art was so amazing. I started telling everybody, you got to see this movie. It did really well on a small level, and then they made Terrifier 2, and I was invited to be in that movie. That one did a little bit bigger and better, which then caused this huge buzz for Terrifier 3, which then I returned to, which has now done almost $100 million at the box office, I believe on a $3 million budget. Wow. Locally filmed, Damien Leone, who's the filmmaker from New York, from Brooklyn or the Bronx, I'm not sure. Don't shoot me, Damien. But this is a New York movie, and it has gone so through the roof worldwide because of this Art the Clown and because of how over-the-top gory it is. Like, it was the #1 movie in America.
Yeah.
And so there you go. This is another thing I never thought I would be able to say. Chris Jericho in the #1 movie in America getting his face ripped off by Art the Clown. A headless Art the Clown, might I add. Spoiler alert. It doesn't get any bigger and better than that. So what's the appeal? They're fun. And Terrifier is so over the top, disgustingly gory. You have to laugh at how ridiculous it is. But it's become a thing. It's become a pop culture phenomenon here. And it's been a pleasure to be a part of it.
Yeah, I don't do horror movies either, but I read the Wikipedia plot outlines. Yeah. And I always ask people why is Art the Clown doing all this? And no one's ever given me a good answer.
Well, there is an answer to it. There's a whole thing about it. He's basically, we're finding out that he's a demon put on Earth to hunt down this particular human called Sienna, which I think we're going to find out in Terrifier 4.
Okay.
Oh, wow. I mean,
well, that actually, okay, I'm in now.
It means you got to watch all the Terrifiers to understand what's going on. Finally, Chris, we only have like a minute or two left. Can we do a few rapid fire questions for you? Because you've been, again, we tap into your expertise on so many different levels here.
Let's do it.
Okay, we're just talking about your acting career. #1 movie in America. Of all the wrestlers throughout history, who do you think is the best actor? Who do you think claims that crown?
I honestly think that, right now there's a lot of guys making some pretty big films and movies, obviously talking about Dwayne Johnson and John Cena, but I think Dave Bautista has done a great job of picking some very a variety and diverse collection of roles. So I would say Dave is probably my favorite out of all of them.
Yeah, you had some really memorable moments with Dave Bautista too.
I did, yeah.
The best musician you've ever gotten to hang with or jam with, who's that?
There's been quite a few. Lemmy's 70th birthday party at the Whiskey, I ended up in kind of an all-star band with Slash, which was amazing, and Rob Trujillo from Metallica, and Charlie and Scott from Anthrax. It was quite the all-star band. Duff from Guns N' Roses is a good friend of mine, great guy. Lars from Metallica. Paul and Gene from Kiss, had some great times with them. So that's the cool thing. When you get a chance to meet some of these guys that are your heroes, and then you push aside the fact that they're your heroes, and then you start seeing them just as guys.
Yeah.
And some of them are like, man, he's kind of nerdy. Like, he's kind of getting on my nerves type of a thing. But there's always certain guys that I talk to quite often that you never would have expected when you were a kid.
Oh my gosh, I love that you're on a first name basis with all these guys. But give us, who's the nerdiest rock star?
So Duff and I have a thing where on my podcast I do the Duff McKagan joke of the week, where for 7 years every Friday he calls in what people call dad jokes.
Oh yeah,
we don't know him well.
Yeah,
I call Perloff sad dad.
They're terrible. This week's one was, you notice how ballerinas are always standing on their toes? Why not just get taller ballerinas?
And that's where we have to leave it, actually.
This on that note.
Perfectly going into our break. Chris Jericho, you've been so generous with your time. Again, you can watch ROH.com. It's Chris Jericho defending his Ring of Honor World Champion title final battle against Matt Cardona Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all at Hammerstein Ballroom.
Still a few tickets left. Go to AEWTix.com. Come down and check out the King of New York defend his crown at the Hammerstein Ballroom. Final battle tomorrow night.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
College football is just on fire right now. Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff, because not only do you have the college football playoff kicking off tomorrow night, Pearl. You got Notre Dame hosting the Indiana Hoosiers, 8 p.m. Eastern time. I mean, we're off and running. And then on Saturday, Penn State, SMU, Clemson, Texas, and Tennessee, Ohio State.
I almost can't wrap my head around this. We're going to have playoff college football in 24 hours, basically. This is awesome.
Amazing.
I can't believe I have all this holiday crap to do. I want to just sit on my couch for the next, I don't know, 16 days and do nothing but watch football.
It's a major problem. If you have anything to do, it's got to get put to the back burner because these college football playoff games are going to be in full effect. And not only that, you've got the transfer portal, which is absolutely raging right now, with quarterbacks going all over the place, including Oklahoma landing a massive transfer in John Mateer from Washington State, who was sat behind Cam Ward. Apparently, Miami made a major push, but Oklahoma's the team that gets him. And let's not forget, this could be a pretty big, massive, really, for Oklahoma, who came into the SEC last year and maybe had one of the hardest schedules, and they totally disappointed outside of that high point, obviously, of beating Alabama. But it was a tough transition, but now you're going to get a slightly easier schedule, and now you've got a major quarterback recruit coming in. I mean, this is big stuff.
Well, they did have, Jackson Arnold was a massive, massive recruit, and that just never, except for the Alabama game, never really got going. So it's kind of hard to. Here's my worry: is Oklahoma going to be like Nebraska in the Big Ten? Like Nebraska dominated college football forever. Then they went to the Big Ten and just became another team. And now I just wonder, like, is Oklahoma ever going to be what they were in the Big 12?
You keep landing recruits like this, you keep giving yourself a better shot. That's for sure.
Nebraska in the Big Ten did it too. Like, it's really hard to predict how a team is going to do in a new conference. And I got to be honest, like, even with this recruit, it just feels like Oklahoma's got a tough hill to climb to get to the top of the SEC. It's hard. This transition doesn't always work. Dominant programs become non-dominant programs. It's just how it goes.
855-212-4227 if you want to weigh in on any of these college football games that are going to be going on. We picked our upsets. I see a bright future for Clemson. Now, I might be dead wrong about this, but I think Clemson has a shot to upset Texas. Listen, Texas is a great program, obviously, and they've got NFL talent all over the field. However, they have not beaten a top 25 team yet. And I don't know about this Quinn Ewers injury. It's an oblique. We didn't see as much of Arch Manning as I thought we were going to see in the SEC championship game. I have to imagine maybe that's going to change. But then, what are the packages they're going to be putting in for Arch? You have a championship winning coach in Dabo Swinney, and all you got to do is come up with one good game plan here. It's just one game, and, Sark has not exactly been Mr. Big Game coach, and Dabo Swinney at points in his career has. So I don't think that Clemson's going to be intimidated, even though they have to go into Texas and try to win this game.
Yeah, it's funny you say that about Texas doesn't have a win. Like, who does have a win over the top 25 in this bracket? There's very few battle-tested teams. Which to me,
Oregon.
How many wins do they have?
Well, but they were able to beat Ohio State. You're asking? I gave it to you.
And they beat Boise. So those are two. But like Oregon's schedule, like Oregon went down in the last minute with Wisconsin. I'm telling you, this is a parity bracket. And that's why Clemson is obviously the worst season of any team in this 12-team playoff. They have 3 losses. But you're right. Anybody could win this. And they have probably the better quarterback in this situation, which is a big deal. I almost think this Quinn Ewers injury is in an annoying spot. Like, I'd rather he be hurt and go Arch. Not like in between. Like, I don't know, should we go with a sort of limited Quinn Ewers because it hasn't looked great. So why not? Honestly, I want to see Arch running. I know it's not great to run Arch for his health, but like he gives you something that Ewers is not doing at all for Texas, which could be big in this game.
Well, and you never know when Steve Sarkisian's going to feel like he did in the first Georgia game, which is, okay, we just need a spark. Let's put Arch in. But then you kind of put him into a tough spot because it was too little too late even in the first half when they put Arch in and then started Ewers in the second half. But he's coming in cold. Now he's being asked to get you back from a 2-score deficit, or I might have been 3 scores at the time. It's just a really big ask. You're right. The 2-quarterback thing is tough to do. But I imagine we're going to see a lot more Arch. And I think Dabo Swinney's going to be ready for that. I do.
You keep talking about Dabo Swinney like Dabo Swinney's a thing still. Are we on a time machine back to 2018? What's happening here, Maggie?
Well, listen, you can argue with the transfer portal philosophy, which means not using it. You can argue with all of that, but now we're just down to you versus me in a one-team winner-take-all. We're not talking about a whole season. We're not talking about – it's just who's going to get the coaching advantage.
Well, did you see any coaching advantage in the South Carolina game for Clemson? Because I sure didn't. Yes, South Carolina. Like, I don't know.
South Carolina was one of the hottest teams in the country.
Yeah, but Clemson had total control of that game and just made – I think they got way too conservative at the end of the game, like kind of got tight. I'm not sure that well, it's so funny. Like coaching edge, like I think of certain coaching edges in this final 12 is Sark's game planning, Kirby Smart's sort of relentlessness or defense.
Dan Lanning's acumen.
Dan Lanning, everything of it. Dan
yeah.
Lanning getting the team fired up. I don't think of Dabo like that. And I don't know why. I think like Dabo used to be at the top of the mountain in college football. And I think it's really the transfer portal has hurt that reputation. So it's funny you say like, Dabo is going to cook something up here. I don't think of him like that. You could be right. I'm not saying you're wrong. But Sark has not proven it in a big game either. But Dabo, I don't know. That's your coaching advantage in this 12-team playoff. There are other coaches who I might point to.
855-212-4227. One interesting, listen, all of these games are interesting on their face, but I don't think we're talking nearly enough about Indiana Notre Dame. And I think the part of the reason is because Indiana, when we saw them against a top team in Ohio State, didn't look that great. Final score was a little closer than the game actually felt. And the same thing with Notre Dame, who has been absolutely crushing teams, but look a little bit more closely. And who are those teams really?
UVA and service academies.
Well, and USC. But yeah, I mean, they didn't crush USC, but they beat USC at the end. But USC
stinks.
Was a shell of itself at that point, and it switched quarterbacks and all that stuff.
Yeah, no, I mean, Notre Dame's schedule, and it's not their fault. It just turned out to be pathetic. It's just, so that's why we're not talking about it, because we have no idea who these teams are, especially Notre Dame. I think they are one of the, Pat Boyle is doing updates today, is a big Notre Dame fan. He's like, I have no idea. We don't have the slightest clue how they match up against good teams.
Yeah.
There's
If your
no way
name's
to
Pat
tell.
Boyle, you're contractually obligated to be a Notre Dame fan.
Also, they've had some injuries, and the stuff that in the early part of the season, they did, like, you could see them struggle a little bit, but now everyone's healthy, but you haven't played anybody. So that's why I don't think people aren't talking about this. I think college football does such a disservice to himself with the uneven schedules. It really bothers me. I get mad about it all the time.
You get mad about it with the NFL.
Yeah, the NFL, but more so in college. I mean, I would have probably, and this is going to sound harsh, I probably would have put the 3-loss Alabama team in there because quality of wins, I think, should be higher than avoiding losses. If the best team you beat is Texas A&M and Notre Dame, like that's not wowing me.
855-212-4227. Okay, we have a few things to do here, but for college football, considering the conversation we're having now about the college football playoff, let's do this. Breakout player from the college football playoff, Pearl. The person, we've been talking a lot about coaching matchups, but the player who we think is going to have this sort of star turn, rise, whatever you want to say, because I've got a couple for myself.
All right, you go first.
Okay, I think the number one guy who has a chance to become a household name. He's obviously a star if you really know college football, but someone who I think is going to become more of a household name is Matayo Uiagalelei, who is the defensive lineman for Oregon. Obviously, he's DJU's brother, and it's so interesting that the defensive player is probably going to become the bigger star and the better pro than the quarterback because the quarterbacks get so much attention. But this is not your average defensive lineman here. This is a 10.5 sacks, 13 tackles for loss. He's had an interception, 2 forced fumbles, pass defended, 6'5", 270 pounds. And I think he has a chance to make a big defensive play when Oregon they have a first-round bye, but whoever they're going to play, whether it's Tennessee or Ohio State, it's going to have a game that probably, 35, 40 million people are going to be watching, maybe more. I think Matayo Uiagalelei is going to be the star out of this college football playoff.
Oh, I absolutely love it. He came up as a tight end. He was actually like a 50-50. Am I going to play offense or defense? That interception return, did you see the moves?
That was unreal.
Yeah.
The feet.
And it is such an irony when I mentioned the other day, DJU declared for the pros on social media. That was you should have put yellow crime tape around that. It's like, you're declaring for the pros and what? It's like everyone was saying.
Mentions were brutal.
Because DJU has been incredibly disappointing. But it's a good one. He is a defensive player. So I'll go to offense. How about Matthew Golden on Texas? If you watch SEC title game, dude's uncoverable. I actually was looking at him because, I'm a big draft fan. He's considered a second-round pick, but the way he played against Georgia in the SEC title game, watch out. I think this guy could really light it up because, also Sark receivers do very well. He was there at the real peak of that Alabama wide receiver room. So I think he's already kind of a star, but I think he could be like if Texas doesn't get upset by Clemson, like you keep mentioning they will.
Yeah.
I think like Texas could present a lot of stars. You're going to get a lot of eyeballs. They're a huge thing, and Matthew Golden is a superstar potentially. I think he had 162 yards in his last game. He's going to be really good in this matchup, especially if some of these games get more offensive. I'm worried that it's going to be like 21-19. I want some like 38-35 games, and hopefully we'll get them, and hopefully Matthew Golden leads the way.
Okay, so maybe I've got an offensive player. Maybe you get one defensive and one offensive player who's going to break out in this college football playoff. My defensive was Mateo Uiagalelei. Obviously, our friends in Oregon are extremely familiar with him, but like my mom doesn't know who he is. Maybe she will after all this is done if he has the type of breakout tournament that I think he's going to have, for lack of a better term. I think the other breakout, a guy who's really on the cusp of being a super household name, is Cam Scatterbo. And
wow.
I know.
These are the name.
Well, the name, but also the production. I mean, the first running back who has reached Christian McCaffrey levels of over 1,500 yards rushing and also 500 yards receiving, led the Power 4 conferences in all-purpose yards, obviously, with numbers like that. And he is literally 38% of all of Arizona State's offense. If you love offense, this is someone who's obviously jumps off the screen. Again, we all know him. We understand, but I think people are going to watch and wonder how he wasn't a Heisman finalist.
Yeah, what's the deal with the? So they have two players on offense, right? Jordan Tyson and Cam Scatterbo, and Tyson's been hurt, so we'll see how he goes. Can I go one more running back? Have you guys watched the SMU running back Brashard Smith? Like he's like got a bit of an Ashton Genty feel to me. Like he's a beast, and Penn State's got their own running backs. Like I think SMU is quietly the team to root for in this whole thing. So you got the quarterback, Kevin Jennings is good, but Brashard Smith will be the star for them. Huge season. I think he's a pro prospect. Watch out for SMU run game. But by the way, watch out for everybody on SMU. They're just a very easy team to like. I don't think they've been in many national big games. It's tough to go to Penn State. I think people are going to back that team really hard if they win.
Yeah, well, it's going to be that whole Penn State thing. Big game, big moment, all the pressure on you.
But the way you say that,
they're the favorite.
Right. Then it's funny the way you say that. Like nobody's talking about the SMU part of this. Like they just they're there. I don't think anyone knows them because they haven't been good in 25 years or 45 years.
I think a lot of people, listen, they beg their way to get into the ACC, and then they make it all the way to the championship game in the first round. Coaches, one of the hottest coaches in college football. This is going to be a massive one. All right, EJ, we're asking for a breakout player for this college football playoff. Who's yours?
I feel like this is going to be the playoff of the running back, especially because the best quarterbacks, Cam and Shador, aren't there.
Yeah.
And we've talked about Ashton. We've talked about Scatterbo. I think there's a guy that's very under the radar, and I'm very fascinated to see how he does in game one. Dylan Sampson, Tennessee.
Yep.
We talked about Ohio State. Their defensive front is supposed to be vicious, but they've kind of been hit or miss a little bit this year. Tennessee going in the game, I think they feel like they could win, though I think Ohio State is going to be favored. I wonder if Sampson kind of steals the show in that game. And then against Oregon, does Tennessee take the air out of the ball and control the clock? With Dylan Sampson's guys run for 100 yards in almost every game, literally only against UTEP and OU, where he didn't run for 100 yards. It was 72 and 92. He's a guaranteed 120 yard kind of running back. And we talk a lot about Nico Iamaleava, the quarterback, because he's been so highly touted, but really it's been Sampson's show on offense. I wonder if all the running backs talked about Janty Scatterbo, I wonder if he becomes a guy that kind of takes over the playoff a little bit.
I find Tennessee so funny because with Hendon Hooker, they were the ultimate tempo, score 50 points on you, and now it feels like they want to win like 17-10. And I think their big edge, right, is their defensive line. I am a little bit annoyed at that because that game is going to be low scoring, right? Ohio State, Tennessee.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you have so much.
What's the total? Is it 46.5, I think they said yesterday?
You have so many pros on both offenses, and I think you nailed it. Like, both teams are going to try and game manage this one. It's a bizarre situation. Like, why Ohio State isn't putting up 45 points a game with 9 NFL players on offense is strange to me.
Okay, what did we say? Ohio State, Tennessee. Yeah, 46.5, still the total.
By the way, right now, Saturday weather forecast, it says snow. Perloff, you might be in trouble.
Yeah, but Tennessee's cold too, right?
No, but you said there was no chance it was going to be snow
Oh.
in December.
Oh, okay.
Perloff also controls the weather. Did
Yeah,
you guys
right
not know
now
that?
it's early, but Saturday it looks like snow showers.
I bet I could pick Manny's breakout player. Put myself in Manny's shoes. Abdul Carter.
I mean, that's yes, actually.
break out for the Jets next year.
I'll take that.
No, let's not ruin his career like Olu. But I like Abdul Carter as well. Yeah, I mean, have him.
Manny. Yep, I took care of it for you, Manny. It's cool.
I'm sorry. Have him rush. I mean, listen, he's going to be one of the top picks in the NFL draft. So, I mean, he has to have a performance that will go ahead and bump up his draft stock. And you know what? Get James Franklin out of that notion, out of the, well, he's going to have to do a lot more. But start to get James Franklin out of that. He's, Big Game James nickname that he has.
Yeah, ironically. He's not actually Big Game James.
I think Abdul Carter in the Ohio State game, like they were kind of playing towards him in the beginning of the game. Then Ohio State just avoided him at all costs at every play. Kind of like when J.J. Watt was in college, just run away from Abdul Carter.
Dude makes a difference, man.
Oh, he's ridiculous. He stands out like that. Yeah, I don't love this Penn State team. I got to be honest. Like, if you bet on Penn State at all this year, they're incredibly frustrating.
Absolutely not.
They're
No, that's
incredibly
not true.
frustrating.
I covered with Penn State.
Against USC, right?
No. No. Hold on. Vamp for a second. I'm going to get you the ridiculous spread that Penn State covered for me this year. Give me 1 second.
Drew Aller.
Talk amongst yourselves.
Tyler Warren.
Wait, what? Give me the
Those two running
price
backs.
per night at the Budget Inn in
Oh, yeah,
Harrisburg.
that was a $4.99 a night. Minimum two stay night at the Nittany Budget Motel this weekend.
Why is Drew Aller going back, by the way? I couldn't quite figure that out.
He's on a first-round pick right now.
Exactly. I mean, I think that's why.
Oh.
Yeah, but you think he'll be next year?
Probably. I mean, he comes in. I mean, he's one of the Heisman favorites next year, probably. Right? He's got to be.
I covered Penn State. I laid the 42.5.
Ohio.
Against Kent State.
I remember that.
They won 56-0. James
I remember
Franklin.
thinking you were crazy for doing that, too.
No, that was the easiest bet I ever won. You want to know why? James Franklin is so predictable with stuff like that. He runs up the score on anyone he can. And that one is for the boosters.
You're making me uncomfortable. Like I don't know what you're talking about.
I have a question for you guys. Is there any
exactly
chance?
what I'm talking
Is there any chance anyone gets fired from the playoffs?
Yeah, like
Do you
Ryan
think-
Day.
Franklin.
Like, do you really think that's on the table?
I think Ryan Day is on the table. I don't think James Franklin's on the table.
Okay.
That's my opinion. I mean, who's Penn State going to get?
Ryan Day.
They switch places.
Just a trade in Big Ten schools?
A 1-for-1.
Throw them out the window.
855-212-4227. We can dive more into that topic in a minute. Is anyone's job on the line?
We had
They make it to the playoffs.
who
It's a
do we
very
have?
NBA thing where you would win coach of the year or make the playoffs but lose, and then you get fired as opposed to the guy who's coaching a team that wins 19 games, but he's
Dwayne
safe.
Casey.
Should name the award after him.
Yeah, I mean, that's the funny thing about it. There's two things that I find interesting about the 12-team playoff. Would a coach get fired, and will a quarterback leave his team before the 12-team playoff for a better NIL deal? But I guess they're going to move the date, by the way. That's the latest thing.
Good. They should.
I also wonder if a quarterback's going to get cut, so to speak, from the playoff. Like, is there a quarterback that plays so poorly that they say, hey, we're one quarterback away from winning a title, tell someone to hit the portal, and they get someone better?
855-212-4227. We unpack all of that. Your thoughts on the college football playoff, always welcome. 855-212-4227.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining.
No.
Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Maggie and Perloff show. Pat Boyle, wearing green, Notre Dame fan, is in for updates today. It's so interesting to me. Like, the playoffs finally here. I'm dying to know, is Notre Dame a good football team?
What do you think?
I have no idea. I literally have no idea because I listened to a CBS Sports podcast the other day. Great college football podcast. 4 out of 5 guys picked Notre Dame to win it all. They said, like, their path is so easy because they think they're going to kill Indiana. Georgia's a mess. And then the teams at the top, Ohio State and Oregon, will beat each other up, was the theory. but I don't think anyone has any idea here.
I get where they're coming from, though. I mean, there is definitely a path here for Notre Dame. And
the bracket looks manageable.
Totally. And then the other part for them, and that bodes well for them because in this current playoff format, and I think this might stay the same, Notre Dame's never going to be able to get a first-round bye because if they don't play a conference championship game, and if we think they're still going to value conference championships because, by the way, they've got to sell those tickets. They've got to sell that game. They don't want a potential cash cow to go away. Notre Dame's always going to be at an air quotes disadvantage there.
I think they kill that rule by next year.
But again, do you think Notre Dame's going to be able to get a bye?
Yeah, I
They're
think
playing one fewer game.
I think there seems to be a media movement at least to kill the automatic 3 and 4 spots for the conference title.
Yeah, I'm not so sure because I think they don't want to.
They
still want to sell those games.
I think there's a lot of changes coming. A lot of changes. I mean, we were talking in the break about the transfer portal timing is so ridiculous right now. That'll change. I think college football is moving at such a fast speed that everything's going to be different.
Pat Boyle's in doing updates. Another Patrick calling from South Bend wants to talk about Notre Dame being underrated. Hey, Patrick.
Hey, I'll tell you, I've watched them all year. They keep getting better every game. And even though they've had a lot of guys injured and out for the year, when they started the season, they had 6 total starts on the offensive line. That offensive line has really come on now, and they've got a really good running game. Julian Love is the guy who's under the radar. And Indiana, other than Michigan and Ohio State, most of the teams they've played, their offenses are in the 100s or higher, which is why they have a good defensive rating. But Notre Dame's going to shut down Indiana, and this game will be the blowout of the weekend. Notre Dame will win 40-14 or 13. And the other guy you might look for is Howard Cross on defense, back after about a month out. And he's with 2 big guys, Howard Cross and Riley Mills, in the middle of that defensive line. Indiana's not going anywhere. The other upset is SMU is going to upset Penn State.
Oh, interesting. Patrick, thanks for calling your shot there. Oh, thought you were done. Jeremiah Love, obviously, the running back, has been fantastic. And Howard Cross he's also Howard Cross's son, right? Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah, they've got a couple guys who are the sons of former NFL players.
You know what else of Notre Dame? Playoff, right? Like Riley Leonard's going to take off like crazy in this game. He's probably going to run 15 times. I think all the quarterbacks are going to sell out for the run. That's why people are lucky Alabama's not in this playoff because Jalen Milroe would run 25 times in that game. But Riley Leonard in particular, I mean, Pat, that guy lives to take off, right? He's sneaky fast.
Because he can't throw the football. That's
why. So you'll control the game. He'll get a first down or the run game will get a first down.
I'll tell you what, I am refusing to buy back into any hype on Notre Dame. I'm refusing.
You're out.
But you have Indiana in the first round.
I would not be shocked they lose that game. Patrick and South Bend, way too much confidence for my liking to think that Notre Dame is good enough to blow out anybody who's remotely an elite football team. They're not.
But how do you know?
They can't
is
throw
Indiana
the football.
elite? But is Indiana elite? See, that's the other part. You know, Indiana, yes, they play in the Big Ten, but they had a bottom feeder schedule. I mean, it's a great story. They're a fun team to watch, but I have no idea how good they are.
We're going to judge Indiana harshly because of one, would you even call it a bad loss? Their one loss was to Ohio State, who we can poke fun and laugh at for them losing to Michigan, but I think we would agree Ohio State, up until that last game against Michigan, was like clear-cut top 5 team in the country, played Oregon down to the final second, who's undefeated, and because Indiana lost them by 20, now all of a sudden Indiana's fraudulent team.
No, I think we were saying that about Indiana.
Run and they throw the crap out of the football. Signetti, that defense is tough as nails. This is not going to be an easy game for Notre Dame, I promise you.
We were saying that before Indiana played Ohio State, because if you look at the schedule, and listen, to be fair, we say similar things about Notre Dame, but that Texas A&M win did look a lot better at the beginning of the season, and A&M had an up-and-down year. So
Well, the one thing, by the way, I slightly do believe in Indiana, too, is because James Madison was fire back with Signetti. So they were great.
Yeah.
So I think
13 players from James Madison came over with Signetti to Indiana.
So they're not a normal Indiana team. They're kind of like James Madison, varsity version. I do think that there is something interesting there. But you have great points about, like, it's hard to tell. I mean, you could say the same thing about Notre Dame too. They have played much better, but the competition has gone down a little bit.
That's another thing.
Yeah.
Who has Notre Dame played? I mean, they rolled over Navy and Army. It was like the two ranked opponents they played.
And Army was supposed to be the good one. Then Army got the doors blown off them by Navy.
Yeah,
so.
and going into the season, I was like, all right, Florida State, top 10 team, that's going to be a tough one. They're one of the worst teams in football. And then USC kind of just sputtered down the stretch. And, you can make the argument Notre Dame hasn't played any. They beat Louisville, which, congrats. You didn't lose to Louisville for the second year in a row. I refuse to believe in Marcus Freeman. That's the thing for me.
Oh, so you were not happy with the contract extension?
No, I mean, he does, and I don't want to just totally act like I'm an opponent of his, because he does so many things that you have to do at a great level in college football. He's like James Franklin. Yeah. Recruits the crap out of players. Tremendous recruiter, tremendous motivator. So, half of what being a college football coach is, he is elite at. Actually coaching, management, timeouts, making sure that Notre Dame's got 12 players on the football field in big games, he hasn't proven he can do that. So, when you're blowing out Florida State and Virginia and USC, all the little things that he doesn't do well aren't magnified. But they were all magnified in a game against Northern Illinois, a game which you should never lose. So if he can lose that game, and he can lose 2 years ago to Marshall, they can absolutely lose to Indiana.
Well, then I don't know how you think he's some great motivator, because clearly they were feeling themselves after that A&M win, and they totally overlooked Northern Illinois. So if you're really upset about him about X's and O's, you might have to question whether or not he gets his team up for games, because if you're going to lose to Marshall and you're going to lose to Northern Illinois, I could say that he doesn't even have the motivation thing down. But that we can put that to the side. When Pat's talking here and I'm listening to him, you're kind of ripping apart Marcus Freeman, and nothing you're saying is unfair. You're really telling me you don't think Bill Belichick's going to work in college football? That's the only thing I can think, because Marcus Freeman is coaching a team that, what'd you say, 4 out of 5 experts think is going to win the whole thing. Ryan Day, same thing. They don't have enough guys on the field at the end of the game. They make boneheaded mistakes. Dan Lanning looks like the smartest coach to ever grace a sideline because of what he pulled on Ohio State. You're telling me Bill Belichick, one of the great X's and O coaches of all time, is not going to have success in college football? This is why I've become this big Belichick defender. He's going to win just because if he's taking on Notre Dame, he's at the coaching advantage.
I thought in college, all the coordinators do all the stuff, right? Isn't it like your defensive? I mean, do a lot of head coaches call plays in college football?
Well, you think they manage the games? What are they doing there if they don't?
No, I think there's more of that stuff that, the fact that Marcus Freeman can recruit like that at Notre Dame, where it's hard to recruit because of the academic stuff. I feel like you kind of got to hold on to him. He's kind of breathed some new life into this program. I mean, let's face it, he's probably going to win a title before Brian Kelly.
I don't know. Brian Kelly, I thought, was recruiting just fine.
At Notre Dame?
He was.
I mean, not Freeman has already had 2 top recruiting classes. That never happened with Notre Dame.
I mean, it's hard to recruit at Notre Dame because of the academic restrictions, but it's also easy to recruit at Notre Dame because anybody that has, I'll be nice, anybody that can become close to getting into Notre Dame, who doesn't want to go to Notre Dame? It's still a tremendous brand that speaks for itself. So it's okay, we might not be able to recruit kids that can't get in here that, are otherwise just going to go to the SEC and could be future NFL players. But we're also going to get anybody that can even clear the academic restrictions by a centimeter. That's such still a huge pool.
But did Freeman, he revolutionized recruiting there? I thought it was radical. He had didn't he have the number 1 class 2 years in a row? I don't know if it stayed number 1.
I think they've had a top 5 class.
Who were the pros that were under Brian Kelly? They had good players, but not Alabama players or Georgia players.
They've always amazing.
The offensive line.
They've always had incredible offensive lines.
Didn't our caller call Jeremiah Love Julian Love? I mean, I'm watching him play every Sunday for the Seahawks.
I think there definitely been a level of talent down from Georgia now.
I thought he called him Julian Love. Maybe
you think they've been as talented as Alabama or Georgia? Obviously not.
What'd you say?
They don't have near the talent of Alabama and Georgia over the last 10 years.
But
or
Perloff,
Clemson.
Nobody is sending people to the pros like Alabama and Georgia.
Right, but
that doesn't mean Notre Dame's not sending anybody to the pros.
Marcus Freeman's right there with those. He's upped it. He's I'm getting that 5-star kid and 4-star kid. They never got those kids.
Notre Dame's average recruiting class ranking from 2017 to 2021 was 12.
What is it now?
That I don't have at the second. Maybe vent for me. But this is just an article kind of comparing LSU. What I know now is that LSU has been in the top 5 since Kelly has been there.
Yeah, I feel like Freeman has opened up a lot there.
I'll just, to hit on your main point that
10th, by the way, is where Notre Dame is now.
To hit on your main point that a lot of people are picking Notre Dame to win it all, even if they do beat Indiana, which they should. I mean, they're a touchdown favorite. I don't care who's playing quarterback for Georgia. I still think that's a game Notre Dame loses by 2 touchdowns. And until I see otherwise, I'm not going to believe it.
Well, I just think that's more like an indictment of Georgia, right? Like, no, I can't wait. By the way, you've got me fired up. I want to see Notre Dame, Indiana more than any game in this.
Well, you're going to get it tomorrow night.
Yeah, this is like, I have no idea. SMU, Penn State, same thing. I have no idea how that game's going to play out.
Wait, you took that as an indictment of Georgia because Pat said they're going to lose by 2 touchdowns to Georgia?
Wait,
I said Notre Dame will lose to Georgia by 2 touchdowns no matter who's playing quarterback.
I'm saying
for
people
Georgia.
picking Notre Dame to go all the way is an indictment of Georgia.
Oh, got
yeah, that is just an anti-Georgia take.
Georgia's shaky.
Yeah, I
This
know.
is the most beatable Georgia team over the last 4 years.
Or they could beat up everybody else.
Or they go on a heater
with
a backup quarterback.
I think Georgia wins the whole thing.
It's possible.
Yeah, it's very possible.
Because I think that defense is going to play. I think they played incredibly against Texas, and I think they're going to play incredibly the rest of the way.
They are so hit and miss, though, because that game against Georgia Tech, that first half against Alabama, that defense sometimes just disappears. Those edge rushers, they want to put that NFL tape on. They're just flying off the edges. And it's like, hey, guys, maybe, contain a little bit. Like, mention a guy like Riley Leonard who can run. Like, if that's the matchup, they better be ready to contain. Otherwise, they could be in for a long day because we've seen when they've had to face running quarterbacks, Haynes King, Jalen Milroe, they struggled mightily.
Because they have these small Ferrari pass rusher guys who are not built to stop the run. But Maggie, you nail it. Like they could go out in their first game or they could go on a heater.
I think they're probably poised to win the whole thing, which is why when we were talking about upsets, I went to the other side of the bracket. I'm like, well, I think Clemson, Texas, and then Clemson could play Arizona State because I still have a healthy respect and fear of Georgia in this kind of tournament setting. And I think it's going to be the backup. I don't know if Carson Beck. And by the way, like, I think that might be a better thing.
It will, yeah, because Beck stinks.
What else we got, Pat?
Well, for high-quality, high-performance golf clubs, apparel that delivers style and comfort, premium golf balls, award-winning gloves, and more, make it a PXG holiday for the golfer in your life. Find the PXG store near you at pxg.com.
I have dementia.
That's right. NFL Week 16 upon us, and tonight, big-time battle in the AFC West with playoff implications on the line. Justin Herbert and the Chargers host Bo Nix and the Broncos at SoFi Stadium. Herbert's still nursing a sprained left ankle, but he trusts the training staff to have him ready to go tonight against the lethal Broncos pass rush.
It's never fun to be able to, to deal with an ankle like that, but, I think the training staff has done a great job of making sure that I'm prepared to go out there and especially feeling safe and comfortable, taking those drops and making sure that I'm able to move. So I think having a good plan throughout the week and understanding and talking about it, I think that's put me at ease.
Chargers in between 2.5 and a 3-point favorite right now. Colts, Dolphins, Bengals all begging for a Denver win tonight. They're all 6-8, 2 games back of the Chargers, who currently occupy that 7th and final seed in the AFC wildcard standings. We hit on all the QB changes happening this week. Here's some of the notable injury updates to know about. Seahawks 8-6, same record as the Rams. Rams own the tiebreaker for the NFC West. Seattle a game behind Washington in the wildcard standings. They're hoping they don't have to go to Sam Howell again on Sunday because that was woof. QB Geno Smith, knee injury, full participant in practice yesterday. Running back Zach Charbonnet did not practice because of an oblique injury. And Kenny Walker didn't practice again either. That calf injury that he's got cost him the last 2 games. And DK Metcalf did not practice either. Shoulder injury that he's been nursing. He's been playing through it, though, for the last couple of weeks. Steelers trying to bounce back from Sunday's loss to the Eagles. AFC North potentially on the line on Saturday when they travel to Baltimore to take on Lamar and the Ravens. George Pickens, he's missed the last 2 games with a hamstring injury. He didn't practice yesterday. TJ Watt limited. Remember, he sprained his ankle at the end of that Eagles game. Mike Tomlin did say on Monday, though, he's optimistic that Watt will play. College hoops, we got some of the we hit some of the top 25 results last hour, but who wants to hear about UConn holding on to beat Xavier in OT?
I do.
When we could hear from Doug Gottlieb.
I don't.
You don't want to hear Doug Gottlieb?
No, I want to hear Doug. I forget UConn. Tell me what Doug said.
Exactly. So the radio host who moonlights as the head coach of the men's basketball team at the University of Wisconsin-Green Bay was defending his schedule outlook last week amidst a rough start.
Part of the reason I want to play better teams is like it's 2 degrees outside, snowing. Like I don't really like the idea of nobody you coming in here and like, I always thought, like, what do we learn playing a game where we win by 20? But there's a methodology to it. And I'm going to have to adjust moving forward.
Yeah, so nobody you. Well, it just so happens that he did schedule a D2 opponent, Michigan Tech, at 11 a.m. on a Wednesday. And nobody you, Michigan Tech, came into Green Bay's gym and beat them 72-70 after trailing by double digits early in the second half. He is getting roasted on Twitter.
Yeah, I mean, listen, anyone who knows Doug, and we know Doug, and we're friendly with Doug, Doug's going to say whatever he's going to say. This is part of him, and he built his brand off of this, being really outspoken. He's still doing a radio show while he's coaching the team. My question is, how did the day and time of this come about? What college student is like awake, alive, alert at 11 a.m. on a Wednesday? This feels like almost like it was a bad job. I don't know what the story is behind the scheduling.
That's not totally infrequent. They do a lot of like kids' days or education days. They'll have schools come.
On a weekday, though?
Yeah, I've done a couple of LIU games at like 1 p.m. on a Wednesday. Wow.
And how are the guys? Probably takes a good half for them to get into it.
Yeah, a little sleepy.
Yeah.
And I mean, but they had a great first half, and then they collapsed down the stretch.
Shirley Gottlieb hosted his show after the game, right?
Yeah.
See, I thought he did not.
No, he didn't.
I thought next day he did not do a show, yeah.
I mean, one thing, you guys don't underestimate Michigan Tech. They are a powerhouse.
At your own peril.
By the way, Manny, you
Where
know
do they
every
play?
stadium. If you know the city that Michigan Tech is in.
East Lansing? I don't know.
I don't think so.
Waterloo.
Duh,
I have no
course.
idea. That was a guess. You want me to find out for you?
Actually, you kind of want to know now.
Yeah, Michigan Tech. And what's their nickname?
I'm going to
The
say
mascot?
Yeah.
The Panthers.
The Bulldogs.
I've seen...
Houghton,
yeah,
Michigan.
I was like, good in that pronunciation because I was going to say Houghton.
And with their nickname?
I think it's Houghton.
The Michigan Tech Wolverines.
Rolls off the tongue.
There's a dog in the logo, so I assume some kind of dog.
It is a dog. Think another team that was in the Pac-12 went to the Big
looks like
Ten.
Huskies.
Yep.
Yeah. Huskies.
Okay.
Oh, my God. Huskies are there's too many Huskies out there.
Wait, do you guys know what?
No, there's not that
I was
many
going to say,
Huskies.
do you know the cooler mascot in this whole matchup is actually Green Bay?
Being the Phoenix,
The
right?
Phoenix.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, they're 2-11.
Fun times at the Rush Center.
The Houston Christian team is called the Huskies. I'm like, there's no Huskies in Houston.
I believe that's Houston Baptist now.
No, it's Houston Christian now. It used to be Houston Baptist.
Houston Christian, Houston Baptist. That sounds like a big religious pitchfork rivalry.
Start a holy war. 855-212-4227. All right, Pat, thank you so much. And, good luck to Doug. Obviously, the first season was always going to be a little bit tough. He's trying to pull off something really difficult here.
I don't know. It's just sports
But like
talk
when
radio.
he says he's 100%, he's more committed than a human being's ever been. It's just factually incorrect.
Which job is harder?
To which job?
Which job is harder, the Wisconsin Green Bay or the radio hosting?
I mean, I've only done one of those things. To be successful at this, you can't just roll out of bed in the morning. But
that is true.
855.
But you don't know. Facing Milwaukee on a Tuesday night, you don't know, Maggie. That's real.
You got Wisconsin Whitewater rolling in on Thursday at 9:30 a.m.
They lose to a D3 school. That'd be real tough.
IUPUI on a Saturday afternoon, Maggie. Those are some wars.
Wisconsin Whitewater. That's a good poll.
Yeah.
Stevens Point. That's another good one in Wisconsin.
A little Stevens Point.
Where was Bo Ryan before?
He was, I think, at Whitewater.
Whitewater, right?
And maybe Lance Leipold, I think, may have also been at Whitewater. Yeah. It's basically it's just a coaching.
It's a D3
fertile ground.
powerhouse, that thing.
Yeah. Got any other Wisconsin schools?
Wisconsin Whitewater, their nickname. Stay
I think
after the break. We'll tell you.
They should be the Rafters.
Way to keep them. Okay, we've got so much more to do, including more college football to mess around with. Some advice for Travis Hunter from a Hall of Famer. We'll get to that next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining.
Michael Penis, young and bold, and your story's turning cold. He's got the swagger, he's got the spark, while you're left sitting in the dark. The future's his, the past is yours. The Falcons are opening brand new doors. Oh, Kirk, the time has come. Michael Penis is the chosen one. You've got the cash, you've got the fame, but you've lost the love of the quarterback game. Michael's throwing darts, the crowd's on fire. You're on the bench, your stock retired. His youth and skill, they light the field, while you're left watching dreams unsealed. You've still got your millions, your trophy life, but the game's moved on and it cuts like a knife. The Falcons roar for Michael's name, while you're just a piece of yesterday's game. Oh, Kirk, the future's clear. Michael Penis is the one they cheer. You've got the riches, you've got the stats, but glory now wears a younger man's hat. You've seen the highs, you felt the lows, but nothing stings like the way it goes when you takes the field and leaves you behind. A cruel reminder of time's design. Oh, Kirk, the pockets are full, but the game no longer gives you a pull. Michael Penis, the Falcons' pride, leaves you watching from the sideline. Yeah. So here you sit, a wealthy man, holding on to what you can. Michael's the star, the fans rejoice, and all you've got now is your inner voice. Oh, Kirk, it's a bitter twist, but at least you'll always be super rich.
Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
This portion of the show is sponsored by the new 2025 Hyundai Tucson Hybrid that has class-leading advanced safety features like the available blind spot view monitor to make your ride more enjoyable. All right, Maggie, we are about to switch hats here because there is a long-standing conflict on one sports topic that you and I have. I think pitching Shohei Ohtani is a mistake. They should just keep him as a batter.
Okay.
Now let's transition to football. There is a draft prospect out of the University of Colorado named Travis Hunter who plays cornerback and wide receiver. I think playing him at just one of those positions would be a terrible, terrible idea.
I think it's the way to get the best out of him and the longest career out of him. You got to pick a side here.
Well, why not with Shohei then?
Because, and to be honest, Shohei keeps getting hurt, so I don't know if this is
it
even
might not be a real thing.
A real thing, and I think that's exactly. And look at baseball. Baseball can be tough on your body. It's not nearly as brutal as football.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a car crash every 5 seconds you're on the field. Now, here's Michael Irvin, the Hall of Famer, of course, saying that Travis Hunter should tell teams, do not draft me if you won't let me play offense and defense.
If I'm Travis Hunter, all jokes aside, I'm putting it out right now. If you're not letting me play both ways, don't draft me. I fully intend on playing both ways in the National Football League.
Okay, that's courtesy of Speak on FS1. No disrespect to Michael Irvin, but does Travis Hunter have that kind of pull and agency?
Yes.
Why?
Yes.
Because Deion's going to funnel him somewhere?
Yes.
How about make it to the NFL? How about be good in the NFL, and then we can talk about playing on offense and defense? And to be honest, Deion is kind of one of one. There are very few guys who have been able to do this, and Travis Hunter's not as big as Deion was, right? I'm worried about him actually getting hurt out there.
Wait. Is that true? Deion was bigger than Travis Hunter?
How big is Travis? This is my point. He got hurt his first year at Colorado. It's hard to do that on the college level, and to be fair, he's excelled at it this year, and knock on wood, he's stayed healthy. But my biggest thing if I'm drafting a guy is I'm about to invest a lot of money and time.
Yeah.
I want them available.
But, okay, you're drafting him 2 or 3. Look at the teams that, let's say this draft order stands now. Vegas and Giants are 1 and 2. They take quarterbacks. That leads New England. They sure need wide receivers, and they could probably use a second cornerback. I mean, they have one good one. Jacksonville, man, they could use help at any position. Carolina, they need help at any position. These teams could play him, but these are all going to be teams that might draft him that could use help all over the field. So this is a perfect solution.
I disagree, especially early on in his career. Listen, if you want to, I think he's going to be a corner, right? Most coaches believe that corner is where he's going to have the most success. If he is playing on offense, it's got to be so super limited. You're getting your feet wet in an entirely new sport, a new level of the sport, excuse me. I don't know how you could think you could roll him in there and play the amount of snaps that he played at Colorado and think that his body's going to hold up. That'd be negligent. And if I was the owner of a team or a GM and a coach was doing that, I'd fire the coach.
I think he might be a bust if he tries to play both.
Well, first of all, let's step back a second. Cornerbacks, except for actually Jalen Ramsey's playing great run defense right now, generally don't, play cornerback. Don't go out there and mix it up with the running back. You could protect a cornerback and you could protect a wide receiver a little bit. You don't have to put him over the middle every time. Just have him as a slot guy who once in a while is going to catch an 8-yard slant and go to the house because he is super fast. He's elite. He's like Jahmyr Gibbs. And both, you have to have the ball in his hands. Now, maybe you do cornerback, punt return, and hope for a lot of interceptions. You need him to do the Deion thing. And you said Deion's 1 of 1. He's not. He's 1 of 2. He is the second Deion. There's no doubt. Deion didn't win the Heisman. Travis Hunter did. He is that. And this basically, I saw a video of Travis Hunter playing basketball, and it's the craziest thing you've ever seen in your life. He's like Anthony Edwards combined with a football. He's so athletic. You have to get him on the field every play.
I want him healthy. I don't want to overuse him.
Yeah, but what's the big deal if you're Carolina and you get a good cornerback? Is that going to change anything?
855-212-4227. Should Travis Hunter try to only go to a team that's going to promise he can play offense and defense? Let us know.
You're in a 5-minute break. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Is anyone coaching for their job in the college football playoff? Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray. Andrew Perloff starts tomorrow, Pearl. It's Indiana traveling to South Bend to take on Notre Dame. Short trip.
Yeah.
Got Indiana matchup. But I think everyone in this matchup is safe, considering Curt Cignetti from Indiana and Marcus Freeman both just got major contract extensions. So these guys are safe. However, not everyone can say that.
What if one of the other jobs opened up and someone tries to poach Curt Cignetti? That's the so safe from the coach's standpoint, maybe not from the school's standpoint, although they did just extend him. I always wonder, by the way, when an extension happens in college football, like another coach, like Rhett Lashley just got, does that mean it's like finite? Like, does that mean that somebody can't come in and steal them immediately? Because college football extensions don't mean what they used to.
Well, this is why buyouts were created, right?
Yeah.
If you really want my coach, you're going to have to pay.
All right, so go through the other coaches. Let's see let's go through. Is anyone else in trouble?
I'm just going to say who I think's in trouble.
Yeah.
I think it's Ryan Day.
Yes.
And this is not me, like, reinventing the wheel. I don't think this is a hot take. I think that it does not matter what the regular season record is for Ryan Day. He is being judged on a completely different scale. And this year, it feels like it's even bigger because he had the most expensive roster in college football, and it was a down year for Michigan coming off of the national championship. And what happened? The most expensive roster in football has been disappointing. And secondly, they lost to Michigan. It's just unfathomable. So the fact that Ohio State gets a home game where they're welcoming in Tennessee, this is not an easy one. They got a really hard draw here. Winner plays Oregon. Congrats. You get a rematch with a team that you lost down to the wire. I just see Ryan Day as one of those guys where you'll look at his gaudy win-loss record and think people are idiots for trying to get rid of him, but this is a unique fan base with a unique set of standards.
I would have said that last year. I would have said they were idiots. I think I did say this. I'm like, why are people trying to get rid of Ryan Day? He gives you a chance to win a national title. That all disappeared in the last Michigan game. I mean, to lose at home like that, and the way they played too, they were just so non-aggressive. Like I don't know. And the other thing too is like he didn't even say afterwards, like he didn't really take as much blame as I think he should have. Like they blew it. That was a classic blow. It almost doesn't matter what they do in this tournament. I think Ohio State fans are over this guy unless they somehow win the whole thing, which is, by the way, very possible in this wide open 12-team field. Yeah, I think the last loss to Michigan was really the moment.
And they are a 7.5-point favorite against Tennessee. So they're as big of a favorite as Tennessee as Notre Dame is against Indiana. And I find that a little bit interesting. But anyway, Ohio State, are they blowing anyone out? They're not blowing out a good team. Because, again, Indiana, they played really well against Indiana. That final score, I think, didn't actually show how the game went. But I've got my questions about Indiana and how good are they really, and maybe they'll prove me 100% dead wrong.
Would you be shocked, by the way, if they went on a run and won the whole thing too? Would nobody be surprised?
But
I mean,
they
you'd be
would
surprised.
really have to be putting it together. Like we'd have to see a team that's just played at a much higher level than they have. No?
They play the same game that they played at Oregon. They could beat that team on a neutral field. That game was a coin flip at the end, and that was in Oregon. So no, I mean, the Michigan game was so bad that it's harder to judge off of that. They just have not run the ball well. Something happened where all of a sudden they have these two possible NFL running backs in Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson, and they can't get a yard on first down. And they won't open up the offense to throw to Jeremiah Smith and all those other great receivers, Mecca Buka, Carnell Tate. Those guys are all top 15 picks in the NFL. It's strange. Like, it feels like Ryan Day got nervous and is coaching nervous. I wonder if he says, you know what, I lost to Michigan, screw it, let's just go out of there and have fun. That would be the best thing for them.
Well, if he was here and in the room and he had a little truth serum, or maybe not even a little, I think he would tell you my offensive line was totally banged up. I lost guys all over the place. True. I was starting a new center, which is obviously it's very important because the center quarterback exchanges. I think he would have an excuse for you on that. I just think that it's kind of one of those things where you thought maybe he might even want to actually leave himself. Now, he has said that's 100% false. He would never voluntarily want to leave this job and step away just because he's getting so much heat from the fan base.
Well, okay, back to the injuries for 1 second. That's absolutely right. And that was obviously huge deal. But who doesn't run the football in college football? Like, name a major program that doesn't average 6 yards a run in football. It's just insane that this Ohio State team. I always think of the 2014 Ohio State team that won the first Final Four. Remember, nobody thought they were any good all year long. They had to get hot at the end of the year and blow out Wisconsin in the Big Ten title game to even make it. And then they just rolled over everybody. I feel like that's the kind of talent they have in Columbus right now. And for some reason, like whatever that, maybe that was Urban Meyer. I don't know, but it just doesn't seem like that offense is anywhere to be seen.
855-212-4227. We're asking if any of the coaches in the college football playoff are actually coaching for their jobs, which is ironic because you've made it to the final 12, yet there are issues, especially when you have expectations as high as Ohio State. Now, as far as Penn State is concerned, James Franklin would likely be another coach you might put in this category. They get a home game against SMU. EJ's reading the weather reports like he's Sam Champion. Looks like snow could be in the horizon. So they would have an advantage, not just with the home field, but maybe also with the weather. Now, James Franklin's buyout. Let's talk money. $56.6 million. That's a lot. Jimbo Fisher's buyout was $76 million. And I know Texas A&M and Penn State might have not exactly the same exact donor base, but I don't know how much oil money is at Penn State. But still, we've seen crazy buyouts before. And if James Franklin loses to SMU, Perloff, I think that's going to be a moment, a fork in the road for the university and what they do with Franklin. And I'm not 100% convinced they wouldn't say goodbye.
I think, first of all, I think he'd be fine because I'm not sure they have better options. They're not Ohio State. It's not like they're not a national title or bust program right now. And the fact that they made the playoff is an accomplishment.
They were a top 5 team all year long, basically.
When's the last time they were like real? When's the last time they won a national title? I mean, it's been a long time.
So you could flip that and say, well, what are we paying James Franklin for? Obviously, he's not the guy. I mean,
well, who are you going to bring in? Like, I'm not sure you're going to bring in a better coach. You're certainly not bringing in a better recruiter than James Franklin. I think that Penn State would be way too afraid of life after him.
Penn State's a 9-point favorite at home.
Yeah, I mean,
in college football, that's not a ton, but it's obviously it's not unhealthy.
But he's guaranteed them a perennial top 20 team at Penn State. Ohio State's different. Ohio State, you have to beat Michigan and you have to compete for the title. Penn State, I'm not sure you have to do that every year.
I disagree. Maybe not every year, but I think when you look at the powerhouses of the Big Ten, now you have Oregon, so that's a little bit different. We thought maybe USC would be a little bit better this year, at least I did. But I think that Penn State fancies itself right in that conversation with Ohio State and Michigan.
Really? This is the first time they've been top 3 in the AP since 2005, and they haven't been number 1 in the AP since 1997. Like, if they do, then the results aren't showing it.
Well, but how often are they top 6, top 5?
Not
like
that often. Like
the issue with Penn State is that they always lose to Ohio State and Michigan.
Yeah.
So that's why they're never in the top 5. They always end up losing to another top 5 team. That's been the thing with James
math.
Franklin. That's the thing. That's been the thing with James Franklin, and it feels like it's been going back also to Joe Pa.
Yeah,
It's
but
just-
I mean, after the scandal, like they were not going to be Ohio State. Like it was going to be hard to build them into a national champion.
Well, yeah,
I think
right.
Bill O'Brien and James Franklin have actually done a good job.
Yeah, well, yes, from where they were in 2011 compared to now being, Big Ten runner-ups. Yeah, I mean, it's been quite a shift. But I mean, regardless, the Penn Staters figured themselves, like you said, Maggie, to be in that conversation with Ohio State and Michigan and to play for a national title. But year after year, after James Franklin continues to show that he can't beat those teams, it has gotten to the point where it feels like, let's just beat Ohio State and Michigan this season, and then we'll worry about the rest later.
So you guys don't believe it. I think there's
I don't. I believe that they'll beat SMU, but after that,
nothing. I think there's Penn State, and maybe I'm wrong because maybe Manny is part of the fan base, and maybe I'm wrong about this. I think the Penn State fan base is a little bit like the LSU fan base, which is we should be there. We recruit. We're in an area where we recruit. Very different, obviously. Pennsylvania, the Midwest, but in the South, same. Louisiana, we have fertile recruiting ground. We are paying a head coach a top salary. We have a pedigree. We've got a history. Like, don't tell us that we shouldn't be playing for a national champion. I see a lot of similarities with LSU and Penn State fan bases.
I don't know. I feel like James Franklin does the fact that he gets these quarterbacks to come from everywhere to Penn State, the fact that he almost got Justin Fields, the number 1 recruit in his class, to basically sign on and then left at the last second. Like, he's pretty good at this. To get Drew Aller, who was the number 1 recruit.
Penn State's not one of the blue blood programs.
Yeah,
like
but
they,
I mean, like you
they
would think
just
of,
came on the scene. This is not Nowhere U.
I mean, I know they actually Justin Fields left, but the fact that he was like in the Atlanta suburbs and that he got him up to State College, Pennsylvania, and for a time beat out Alabama and Georgia. Like, James Franklin, I think, is a very good recruiter, and the fact that he got Drew Aller too is like he was the number 1 guy. I'm not sure every Penn State coach could do that. I mean,
Christian Hackenberg went there, and that was, I guess, Bill O'Brien, right?
Yeah. Yes. And I think actually Hackenberg might have been recruited by the previous staff too.
Yeah, some of the paternal staff.
But honestly, like, you've been to State College. Like, how does that compete with Georgia and Alabama? It's not like they've had those kind of stars.
Well, State College is awesome.
I think people
you say like
that
it's
as far
a
as a
Midwest.
college
It's kind of a Midwestern. Like, they're not going to. I don't think that a new coach is going to get there and just overwhelm you with talent out of Penn State. I find that unlikely. They haven't been a national champion in forever. Like, they're not Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia.
I think you're right, but I think that speaks to what some may say is delusion from amongst the Penn State fan base. I mean, my mom's a Penn State alum as well. Yeah, I mean, I think they're beaten down. I feel like the way Pat Boyle was talking about Notre Dame is how I hear a lot of Penn Staters talking to Manny.
Not a believer.
Right, talking to Manny, talking to my mom. It's the same thing. It's we should be on the level of Ohio State, but we know when a big game comes, we're gonna lose.
Yeah.
And to me, like, they'd be
And
better
that
off
reflects
winning.
back on James Franklin.
They'd be better off winning 9 games a year and not really being that competitive than doing what they're doing, which is win 10, 11 games every year and feel like you're right on the precipice and then lose to the best teams and give yourself no chance to win a national title. I think that there's that's a lot of money, Maggie, but I do feel like there's going to, like, the groundswell that's going to happen if they blow a home whiteout game in a playoff game against SMU. That's going to be, I will not envy being James Franklin if that happens. That's going to be rough.
Look what happened when they lost to Ohio State. He had a guy, like, basically heckling him in your own stadium, on his way out.
Looked like he was in Gangs of New York. I still can't get over that costume he was wearing. But yeah, he was like a teenager too.
The buyout, $56.6 million. So we're asking if any of the coaches in the college football playoff are on the hot seat.
Give it up, Terry Pagula.
The only 2 would be Ryan Day and James Franklin, which is 2 places where the fan base has big expectations. And not that the fan base doesn't have expectations at Oregon or at Georgia, but Dan Lanning and Kirby Smart are beyond sure footing.
Yeah, I mean, okay. New coach comes in, like, does he have the advantages? And you guys obviously know at Penn State that Oregon, Ohio State, maybe not Alabama and Georgia, because I guess or Texas. Like, is Penn State going to be able to build like an NIL funded program like that and be a national champion? Like maybe, but it doesn't feel like it's like everything is set up for a surefire champion. I feel like a lot of people be like, well, James Franklin gives us 11 wins every year. That's not nothing.
855-212-4227. Okay, you can weigh in on this. We also had a conversation, college football-wise, about Travis Hunter. Michael Irvin, the Hall of Famer, Michael Irvin, giving Travis some advice. Don't go to a team that's going to draft you but only let you play offense or defense. You want to go to a team that's going to let you play both sides of the ball or special teams, all three phases, guys. I think that's a silly idea.
So you want to put him at cornerback?
I want to put him at corner.
Corner, not receiver. Okay.
And maybe a play here or there on offense, but not playing the full load of snaps like he does at Colorado.
That's such a waste for fans. I mean, listen, there's some elite cornerbacks right now, like Trent McDuffie is unbelievable. He's unbelievable. Guess what? You never see him. You never hear anything from him. There's no highlights because nobody throws at him. So what good is that for us fans? What a waste of Travis Hunter.
Well, if he actually does get drafted by the New England Patriots, then you've got Christian Gonzalez on one side and you've got Travis Hunter on the other side.
And
now you've got the building blocks, and you've got Drake May already. And now
who are you're going to lose 16-13 every game for eternity because your offense is awful.
The last position on the football field that I am worried about filling is wide receiver. Wide receiver, there are so many good to great ones that are coming out of college now. You know it, 7-on-7, how we do youth football now. So many great receivers. Like, that's fine. And I want him healthy, and I'm afraid if I play him and give him this massive workload, he's going to wear down. It's a 17-game season now. It's too long.
So your plan is to go with the famed double shutdown corner technique in New England, which has actually probably never happened because eventually you're going to have to pay them both. That makes no sense. And meanwhile, you have I don't even know who's their top receiver this year.
Well, they can reload that. I'm
they
not worried about that.
They specifically cannot because
Bill
they have
Belichick's not there anymore. So now they can get some good receivers.
Yes, draft a Jamar Chase. Do that. Take a guy. Get me a Brian Thomas Jr. Do not give me another shutdown corner. Honestly, you got to play him. And I think Carolina even worse than New England. Carolina should play him at quarterback, cornerback, wide receiver, punt return. He should do the punting. Travis Hunter should play every position on the field and maybe call the plays in Carolina.
855-212-4227. Can we put that up on the poll question, EJ, about Travis Hunter? Also, James Franklin, Ryan Day, are they coaching for their jobs in this college football playoff? Hit us up.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff Show. In the NFL, the great thing is you can turn around a franchise really quickly. Like all of a sudden, the Detroit Lions are good. The Houston Texans went from the worst team in the league to a playoff team almost instantly. Unless you're in Las Vegas and you're the Raiders, it doesn't feel like they can turn it around quickly, slowly, any which way. I think I know why, but Maggie, do you have a sort of path out of this morass for the Raiders?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, you gotta sort of bottom out. I mean, how did the Houston Texans turn this around, right? The way they did is they got the second overall pick and they hit on quarterback, and now things are looking differently. They hit on head coach. Hitting on quarterback and head coach is the surefire way to get things going in the right direction. Everyone knows that. This has been the not-so-secret formula in the NFL for so long. Add a little offensive and defensive lines, and now you're really cooking. So this is why I actually believe that the Raiders are not far away. Now, listen, the division's tough. I get that. Circumstances are not set up for them because you got the Chiefs and you got the Broncos and you've got the Chargers. However, if they get Shedeur Sanders or if they get Cam Ward, and if either of those quarterbacks are good, when was the last time? Basically, you got to go back to Derek Carr, last time, and he was a second-round pick. He wasn't a top 2 pick, where you could really start over with an elite talent, and they've got to get this head coaching thing right. And I don't think Antonio Pierce is going to be here next season, and I don't know if Tom Telesco should be there next season. I don't know if you change out the GM.
Just got there.
I know, but do you change out the GM and do you change out the head coach? Because you're in an unprecedented moment. And by the way, there's somebody who's in the building now who knows a thing or two about winning, and that's Tom Brady. And the early reports are that as a minority owner, Tom Brady is going to be involved in the draft process. That is the only prayer. That's the hope here for Vegas. You've got to hope that Tom Brady has a vision or is good at eyeing talent or at least is understanding of who should be the head coach and what a team needs in a head coach. And if they say it's Pierce, okay, then Pierce, But I don't think Antonio Pierce has really done a great job. But to be fair, he's had no quarterback.
Mhm.
This is a team that was destined to fail this year.
That's all that. Everything you said is really cute, but let's face it. Since they lost Super Bowl to the Bucs, since Barrett Robbins disappeared, they've been to 2 playoff games in 23 years. There's got to be a bigger reason than just any of these individual changes you make. I mean, it's clearly ownership, and I think if Mark Davis is at the helm, it's just hard to get excited about this team.
Okay, but what is he like? This is what I need to know,
Yeah.
right? The overall vibe is what you're talking about. People think he's kind of a joke, or do you think he's actually
haircut.
getting the haircut? And he's actually getting involved in NFL decisions. Like I'm reading a story right now that
Yeah.
just got posted by The Athletic that Woody Johnson, the owner of the Jets, actually kiboshed a trade that was far down the line between the Broncos and the Jets for Jerry Jeudy, because he looked up Jerry Judy's Madden rating, the
Yeah.
video game, and said no thank you.
This crap is crap.
That's an owner that's getting involved. In what way do you think Mark Davis is sabotaging his own team?
Well, let's look at some of his hires. He hired Mike Mayock, who is great on TV, but had just made the worst picks. There's no way to say I like Mike a lot, but these picks were terrible. He kind of ignored character and made a bust after bust after bust. He hired John Gruden. He hired Tom Telesco off a very dicey tenure with the Chargers. He made Antonio Pierce the head coach. Like, honestly, like, why all of a sudden you think like he's going to make the right hires at GM? Because he's had a history of making the wrong ones.
He's got to hand over the reins to Brady.
So Brady is your white
want
knight.
it.
You know
Yeah.
he's got another job. He's a Fox broadcaster. Remember that?
Yeah, well,
You really think-
don't
so
worry about that. The
I
Super
just
Bowl is
think-
going to be the last we hear of Brady in the booth.
Well, there's 2 things. One, we don't know that Tom Brady's going to have this hand in the team. And 2, we don't know if Tom Brady's any good at this. I
Listen,
mean, odds are probably not.
Well, you just outlined how bad Mark Davis is, so it's time to switch it up here.
So you're just like, this is a typical AFC East fan. Like, well, Brady will come in and fix it all. Like, that's just because he beat your Bills all the time. He was a great quarterback. I don't know if he can all of a sudden run this team. And honestly, I don't think he's going to have that role. I don't think he's going to hire the GM. I don't think he's going to he might pick the quarterback at 1 or 2. I don't think he's going to pick the offensive guard in the 5th round.
Listen, I don't know if he's going to either, but you need everything with the Raiders. You need culture. You need talent. You need a whole makeover. And yeah, I don't know if Tom Brady is going to be the next Derek Jeter. Jeter thought he'd go to the Marlins, and all of a sudden they start winning World Series, and that obviously did not work. But you know what? I know what's happening right now with the Raiders. What's happening right now is this is a team that's either middling, a team that's terrible, a team that's lost its direction. It's a shame because as one of the great fan bases throughout this country, you can go to any city in America and you will find Raider fans, and they are diehard. You got to hope that Brady is your guy.
Oh, man. It feels like a Hail Mary to me that a minority owner is going to come in and just completely change the culture of a team.
Well, he's not just any minority owner, Pearl.
Well, I know, but
Come
he's
on,
not.
this is
he's
not someone
the
who
GM. He's
made
not the
their money
GM.
in finance and then all of a sudden is being asked to pick a new head coach. It's Brady.
I don't know. Have you come to understand the Raiders that Brady's running the show? Because that seems strange to me. Like he's still a broadcaster.
Come on.
You think so? You think it's full-time job now, and it needs to be a full-time job. Is how do I fix the Raiders? Like, is he gonna get to the office at 5 a.m, start watching tape, then leave at midnight?
I think no.
I think
that this is I think he's one and done as a broadcaster. I've said that even before. He has gotten better over the last couple weeks, but I think the Super Bowl is going to be the finale. I think he's going to say thank you, but no thank you. It's not like he needs the money. And I think he's going to dive into this. I do. I don't know if it's going to be to the level that John Elway was with the Broncos, where he's literally running the show, but I think he's going to have a heavy hand. Yep.
I don't.
I don't think he can associate. He doesn't want to be associated with anything that's a loser. And if he can help in any way, right now, that's what Vegas is.
I mean, he's
It's
also
a city built on
doesn't
losers.
he own part of the
now
Aces
a loser
too?
franchise.
Does
What?
he own part of the Aces too?
Well, they don't need any help. They're good.
I don't know. This just feels again like a Hail Mary that Tom Brady's going to go and fix everything that's been going wrong for 22 years.
So you want to run it back with Antonio Pierce and Tom Telesco?
No, I'm not saying that I have a better option. I would maybe start rooting for another team.
Sorry, Stu.
Come on,
Unlike you, Pearl, we don't jump from bandwagon to bandwagon
My
around
mom
here.
didn't have Marcus Allen's picture hanging up in her locker for you in 10th grade for you to tell her, hey, just pick a new team.
Honestly, isn't Stu Kovacs, who used to produce our show, he's a Raiders fan, right?
Big time.
Yes.
Yeah, he definitely wants to pick a new team. It's all he talks about. He was telling me he was scouting other teams. Like, and the fact that you're like, your answer to all this is Tom Brady, that would make me run to another team. Maybe the Chargers with Harbaugh. I don't know.
Yeah. This is the world according to Perloff is things are going badly. Just jump ship.
You don't
Can't
think
do that.
Oh, you think Raiders fans haven't considered jumping ship?
Wait, you remember when we went to the draft in Kansas City?
Yeah.
How fun was that when we were doing afternoons? We used to go to the draft every year. We actually went to one in Vegas, but the one in Kansas City was very memorable because we met a couple diehard Raider fans. They were part of the Black Hole. They were all dressed like awesome, crazy, the whole deal, the get up, nicest people. You're telling me that guy, whose name is escaping me right now, because I didn't think we'd be talking about this. You're telling me that guy is all of a sudden going to wipe off the face paint.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to take away the spikes off of the shoulder pads, and he's going to put that stuff away, and he's going to start rooting for the Chargers.
Yeah, powder blue.
Wayne Mabry.
Yes.
Marbury or Mabry. Yeah.
What a nice guy.
Do they? There is some form of the black hole in Vegas, right? But it's obviously not the same. That's like
this team's moved around quite a bit, and the Black Hole has followed him to all these different places. L.A., Oakland, they're there in Vegas.
I hear you. I just think that that's not ideal. Like this, like how do you fix a football team? Well, you hire a guy as a minority owner of 3% or something, and then have him come in and fix the culture. I just think that's a really hard task unless you're all in. Like, is Brady going to be the GM? Is he going to be the president? Is he going to be John Elway? If he's not, then I don't want to hear about him coming in and saying, oh, you should take Shedeur Sanders. Because I could go do that.
855-212-4227. Can Tom Brady help fix the Raiders? Yes,
so
no.
you have a huge problem with Doug Gottlieb trying to coach college basketball and doing a radio show in the afternoon, but you want Tom Brady, who has a million other jobs, to all of a sudden come in and do the draft for the Raiders.
Hold on. If Doug's listening, I don't have a huge problem with it.
No. The structure of being a coach and a radio host. Not like, I thought like, no, not with Doug at all. We like Doug, but not
You're
a huge
getting me in
problem.
trouble with Doug Gottlieb. Doug Gottlieb's got enough beefs right now.
No, but I think
he and Schefter have to go back and forth. I don't want
definitely ducking no smoke. That's for sure.
I like Doug. I don't want to do that. I don't have a major problem with it. It just doesn't look like it's working, is what I would say.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought, like many people said, the structure is challenging to be a radio host and a college basketball coach. That's hardly a hot take. Even Doug would acknowledge that, like, this is not the normal thing. Yeah, like, trust me, Doug would have no problem with anybody saying that. It's rarely done. I think Brady's even busier than Doug. I mean, like that. The odds of him, like, okay, like I'm doing a TED Talk in Abu Dhabi, but I'm going to fly over to San Jose State to look at their linebacker. Come on, this is not happening.
No, this is the beautiful part about Brady and how he can get involved with the Raiders and turn them around. This is what it is. Brady gets to pick his schedule. He doesn't have to be in Abu Dhabi doing a TED Talk. He chooses to do that stuff. Now we're comparing Brady to Doug Gottlieb. I don't know how we got there, but Doug's got to coach the Phoenix against the Whitewaters or whoever, Michigan Tech. Yeah. He's got to be there Wednesday at 10 or whenever that game was. Brady gets to pick his own schedule. This is the best part about being famous and rich and retired. You can do what you want to do. And so if he chooses to spend his time with the Raiders, he doesn't need the paycheck from Fox. He doesn't need the paycheck from anybody, quite frankly. So, yeah, that's why I think this could work, because he'll decide where he wants. Like, to Brady now, time is his most valuable thing. He's got everything else in the world he could want.
I feel like he's gonna distance himself from this thing so fast when it doesn't work. Like, he's a broadcaster. Like, it's like we're giving him, like, the hope without the real responsibility of being, like, a savior for the Raiders, because he is part of the organization. They are saying he's going to be part of this quarterback decision, but, like, he's, like Perloff said, he's not a general manager. He doesn't seem to have a real official title. Like, if this goes right, he's going to take all the credit. But as soon as the thing looks like it's not going to go well, he's going to be, hey, I'm just a 5% owner. I'm not doing anything. I'm just here just watching what's going on.
Yeah. I have a question for you guys. Do you think the broadcasting is going great?
Yeah, I think the paycheck's going great.
Sure, he loves the paycheck, but he's not. No. The answer's no.
It's going fine.
Yeah, but also he has improved like 3%. If he could get another 3%, then he'll be fine for the Super Bowl.
Okay, but I guess the Super Bowl, I'm sure.
But I don't think he wants the perception of him quitting on that either.
No,
like,
I don't think anyone's going to think that. I think that he's looking for his next passion, is how he would put it. And I think that I can't imagine that this is that appealing to him.
I think he doesn't want to look like he failed. So I would do a show bet that he's back next year as a broadcaster.
I will take that bet. Quickly, let's hit Dion's in Pennsylvania has a thought on the Raiders. What's up, Dion?
Hi. I've been a Raider fan since first grade. I live in Steeler country here. But one thing I know for sure, that we would never jump ship. We've been suffering for, like you said, 23 years. But, I mean, Brady gives us a little bit of hope. But I don't think Ice Cube or Charles Woodson would jump ship either. So
wait, but Dion, have you been tempted? Have you ever thought about it?
Oh, never. I mean, you feel like we're just going to fight through everything, and that's kind of like the mentality. And the one fella you were talking about, the Raider fan, that's Violator with the spikes on the shoulder pad.
Thank you.
You got Violator and Gorilla. They're the ones you see all the time at the games. But I just went to the Tampa game from, I'm in Steeler country here. Believe me, I've been taking a beating for a while, But I went to Tampa to watch them play, and believe me, they stink.
Dion, you got to hope that Brady pays off.
Oh, yeah. So any little bit of glimmer of hope, we're holding on to it. Don't forget how Dan Campbell started out with the Detroit Lions. So, we just keep holding on to hope, but we definitely never switch a team, and definitely not for a team in the AFC West. We all have nicknames for every single team, So I just wanted to say that. I was listening to it, and I said I had to call.
Thank you, Dion.
Never jump in ship.
Thank you, Dion. Tell him.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not going to argue with Dion. He's clearly got the receipts here. He is a true Raiders fan. No, you're right. I think the Chargers is where I lost people. Like, they're going to go from wearing spikes and all black to powder blue.
It's 2 May, December.
It's not even about the colors. It's the fact that they're in their own division.
I know. Perloff has no allegiance.
But the Raiders haven't been competitive in that said division in a long time. I don't even think they can. And also, they're no Chargers fans, so they need some additional fans. That's a wide open bandwagon.
Listen, they made the playoffs a couple years ago. They were in, Cincinnati.
They beat the Chargers to get into the playoffs.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and remember when, what's his name? Staley called a timeout.
Yep.
And then Bisaccia was like, all right, screw it. We're kicking the field goal.
Yeah. We could have tied.
F you, man.
We could have tied.
That's the mistake they made. That was the interim coach they should have hired.
Bisaccia?
Like, they went with Pierce, but, like, when the Bisaccia was there, they definitely had something. The Pierce thing was maybe a little questionable. I was high on Pierce. That didn't seem to work out. Not hiring Bisaccia was a mistake.
Had what?
They went to Josh McDaniels.
They had what? What? The possibility of going 10-7 and sneaking the wild card and losing?
They would take that, Perloff.
Exactly.
That's not the irrelevance you're talking about right now, where they're so non-competitive that it doesn't matter. That game, we all remember it because it was Saturday. It was Sunday Night Football. It was a shot to go to the playoffs. Like, that was relevant. Like, what we're talking about now, the irrelevance you're mentioning, is because they have zero chance. I agree with you on that, but with Bisaccia, they would have had that, even if it gets them to the next step.
They also, by the way, are trying to unbury themselves from the Mike Mayock era. That was
definitely
tough. They didn't have real first round picks for a while. They could improve on that area.
By the way, I mean, you read a little bit about this, and apparently John Gruden was coming in at some points and big timing Mayock and taking guys that Mayock didn't want to take.
Yeah, probably.
And that's very easy to believe. Pat Boyle has some headlines for us on this fine Thursday.
Yeah, really quickly here. For simple, smart savings on your prescriptions, go to GoodRx.com or download the free GoodRx app. I don't wear women's perfume. Thank you, Manny. If you were trying to fool yourself with a couple of bowl games over the last 2 days, don't worry. NFL back tonight. Chargers, Broncos, big battle. Broncos 9-5, 6th seed in the AFC standings. Chargers 8-6, trying to hold on to that final spot, while the Colts, Dolphins, and Bengals all hoping for a Broncos win. Sean Payton spoke yesterday. He expects to see a lot of Broncos fans at SoFi tonight.
The very first time I was ever at this stadium, I told you guys this already. I think it was Sunday Night Football. Broncos, Chargers went into overtime, if I'm not mistaken, and I couldn't get over 2/3 of the stadium were Denver fans. And so I know we'll travel well Thursday.
That's another thing. I mean, as Perloff is right, Chargers fans, it's like an open audition. Whoever wants to support the team.
Well, they screwed over San Diego, so those fans all left, and now it's LA, which is an unusual fan base.
Can we please get a pro team besides the Padres back in San Diego? NBA or NFL, somebody, NHL, somebody figure it out. It's too awesome a city to not have another pro team besides the Padres there.
You know, EJ, I don't necessarily disagree. I did go to San Diego last summer there. I was like preparing to have my nips blown off.
Excuse me?
It was good.
What did you say?
Have my nips blown off.
Is that a turn of phrase?
For me.
Yeah.
I've never heard that before.
Really? You didn't go to the, what's it called, the gaslight? The gas lamp?
I mean, it was like, it was good, but...
But you...
Well, we're on in San Diego right now, so they're going to throw rotten fruit at you.
I would
No,
I
think we're only on until 9 a.m.
America.
I would kind of disagree with you, EJ. Like, it's so nice there. You almost don't need a pro team. Like, you don't want to be sitting inside on your couch watching the team when you should be out enjoying the beautiful weather.
No, but going outside to a football game or, you know, NBA, a night out, maybe you chill at the beach and you go to an NBA game or a hockey game. You know how awesome that would be? Like,
first, we got to get NBA back in Seattle. Then we can work on that.
Well, you know where it's going first is actually Las Vegas.
I'm not trying to trash San Diego. I'm just saying it's a very nice city, but it's not like I went there and I was like, oh my God, like I can't never leave here.
It sounds like you're trashing him.
Yeah, it does.
Well, if they want to take it that way, then...
This is what you didn't understand. You're in the summer and you're going to San Diego. You've got to go when it's winter here. Then you'll get off the plane and be like, I'm never leaving.
But that's
Fire on the loose. Let's go, Goose.
But that's more so just me not wanting to be cold. And like, yes, that's the temporary fix of going somewhere nice.
Yeah.
There's other places that are warm.
I
Go
also
to the
went from-
desert. Could go to Scottsdale.
See, I also when I went to San Diego, I also went from Vegas in August to San Diego in August. And that also helped.
What's in?
Because you go from Vegas 110 degree weather to 70 and sunny in August. You're like, man, I never want to leave here. So weather is a big part of it, but it's an awesome city.
They love this. I mean, if I'm in San Diego, I want fewer East Coasters who are coming, you know? Just
Probably.
leave us alone.
I don't like when I see people that are clearly not from New York City in New York City. Taking up my time, looking at their phones. Get out of the way and drive or walk so I can get to where I need to go.
Preach, Patrick.
Those are visitors, though. They don't live here.
And they're certainly not going to move here with that attitude.
Good.
Yeah.
Bring back bullying. People need to be bullied sometimes.
If you want to see some real New Yorkers, go down to Florida. They're all there.
There you go. That's a good point.
That's a good point.
Really quickly, I want to throw two things at you guys. One, a piece of news. Baseball hot stove. The biggest news of yesterday was a move that did not happen. Cardinals superstar third baseman Nolan Arenado reportedly used his no-trade clause and blocked a trade to the Astros. Now, Houston traded Kyle Tucker to the Cubs. Doesn't seem likely that they're going to retain Alex Bregman, so Platinum Glover, future Hall of Famer, Nolan Arenado would have been a great pivot, but he seemingly doesn't want to go there.
It's kind of odd.
Right? He wants to stay in St. Louis?
Or just didn't want to go to Houston, but that doesn't make a lot of sense considering how good the Astros have been.
Well, maybe he thinks they're going to stink now, that dynasty is ended. And
hallelujah.
Yeah, but like this is showing the investment in another great player. Keep the dynasty alive with Nolan Arenado.
Players love playing in St. Louis, too. That's a huge... I don't know if maybe he's like, hey, if I'm leaving, I'm not going someplace where maybe I have a shot to win again. Because he's replacing Bregman, I guess, in that scenario where he leaves. He's not as good as Bregman anymore, I don't think. So maybe he's like, hey, we're on the decline if I go over there. St. Louis, no pressure, one of the best baseball cities. Let me just stay here until I get a better option.
Sick blue uniforms, too, in St. Louis.
Ooh, those are sick.
You know who needs a third baseman?
New York Yankees.
No, Phillies.
Philadelphia Phillies.
Who cares?
I did know when the Arenado trade stuff happened like 2 months ago. Like the Phillies,
they make
thing
sense
just
there.
blew up. That they were desperately trying to get him, but I thought he was a little older. He doesn't feel like he's been around a long time. I just looked up his age, 33. I thought he was more like 37.
What was the second piece of news, Pat?
Yeah.
Oh, it was wait, by the way, is that like officially official that Boehm is not coming back?
Oh, I have no idea. No, I mean certainly nobody wants him back.
Okay. And then the last thing was the NBA All-Star format that was revealed last night.
Yeah.
4-team, 3 games, 1-night tournament that'll feature 3 teams of 8 All-Stars each. And seems like everybody hates it, including, and this is one of the few times I agree with what Kevin Durant says. He hates it.
All-Star game, formats changing, all the formats terrible in my opinion, and we should just go back to East-West and just play a game. I think we've been trying to, bring that flair back somehow with the All-Star weekend, but I think we just keep it traditional. But we'll see how this one works. You never know. I might be wrong.
And I thank you, KD. I preach. I echo those sentiments. Ja Morant literally said same thing KD said when he was asked about it.
All right, we'll play a little defense if they're going to play the East-West game, and maybe we wouldn't have to go to these tricky formats. Pat, thank you very much for that. Great job all morning long. We have tons more to do, including a pick for tonight's game, Chargers and Broncos. Don't move.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
All right, this portion of the show is brought to you by Wesley Financial. Stuck in a timeshare and want out? Contact Wesley Financial Group now and get a free timeshare exit information kit at wesleyfinancialgroup.com. You hear the music here on Maggie and Perloff show. That means it's time for a Cowboy Quickie.
Jerry Jones on 105.3 The Fan in Dallas saying Stephen Jones, his son, no one ever said they were trading Micah Parsons.
He did not in any way say that Micah Parsons was at issue looking ahead at the future at all. He did not say that. And by the way, I didn't hear what he said, or I have not read what he said, but I know he didn't say that.
Okay. What? How does Jerry know that? He says because no one uttered a word about trading Micah Parsons.
That's never been uttered in this organization, that we don't have a future with Micah Parsons.
Okay.
Was that you, Manny? Okay. Yeah, okay. I was like, that would be a weird way to end that comment.
I want to be fair here to Stephen Jones. I want to get the exact thing he said. EJ, can you find that while Perloff and I discuss the merits of this? Which is, listen.
Well, he said, I have the quote here.
Okay, go ahead.
He said, it's irresponsible every year if you don't look at the full body of work and the big picture and how those guys fit in. You're going to say, God, are we smart having this much money tied up in the top 5 to 10 players? Obviously, we're totally in on Dak and CD. But after that, then you still shape things, including Micah.
Right. So he left the door open to be kind of vague on this.
About the money, right?
Yeah, about the money. But here's the thing about the Cowboys. Again, it feels like the money always sneaks up and bites them. It's like, guys, you know that Dak's going to be expensive. You know CeeDee Lamb's going to be expensive. You know Micah Parsons is going to be expensive. And it always feels like it's like they go out to a big dinner and they order the surf and turf and then they're surprised when the bill comes and it's massive.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, they probably paid CeeDee Lamb at market rate. I thought it was big at the time, but it was $34 million, and the highest paid is Justin Jefferson at $35 million. So at the end of the day, I mean, I don't think there's any choice. I think they're going to pay Micah Parsons. It's going to be gigantic. You're right, they might do it too late, but I don't know if there's any bargain hunting here because he's got to be. I think he's one of the top 5 defensive players in the league, and he's young. Like, there aren't guys like that. Nobody gets traded in that situation.
Right. But here's the thing. I actually don't mind Stephen Jones saying this. It might irk me a little as a Cowboy fan, but here's the thing. You have Micah Parsons, you had CeeDee Lamb, and you had Dak Prescott, and you haven't won jack. So now it becomes harder, not easier. It becomes harder to build your team the more you pay these guys. So to have everything on the table is actually smart. That's what a smart GM does. And if you get everything on the table, give me your best offer, you know?
I mean, to me, it's like, can you imagine the Niners saying we'll trade Nick Bosa, or the Browns saying we'll trade Myles Garrett, or the Steelers saying we'll trade TJ Watt? It'd be insane.
That's your Cowboy Quickie.
Like, we'll trade him for what? For a first-round pick that you pray could be half the player of Micah Parsons? Micah Parsons is like a human bullet. That guy, bring him to Philly if you're going to trade him, because he is insanely good. He's a little small on the run game, but he is, when he comes at the quarterback. Also, he was hurt this year, and they have won 12 games a year with him. You know, it's something a lot better than this year. So what are you going to do? Like, would you trade him? You would?
Can we get the nay? You're stepping on the nay.
We got it.
I want a full nay.
There you go.
Thank you. Listen, it's extreme. I get it. You're right. They've hit on Micah Parsons, and so obviously you want to pay him. But I don't fault the general manager for just being a little bit more vague about it, no? Because here's the thing. They're trying to also thread this needle of a contract negotiation. So I don't mind seeing what's out there. Give me your Godfather offer for Micah Parsons, because you know what? Maybe you need more than just 3 good to great players on your franchise. You need depth. It's something that killed the Cowboys this year.
Man, if Parsons is gone, they're just irrelevant. They're basically the Raiders. I mean, you could run back next year with Parsons, those 2 cornerbacks. If Overshawn ever comes back, then you got something. Otherwise, like,
but they haven't won anything with them.
But at least they were 12-5. Like they're, and also he's only
But what
been in the
happened
league
in the
for 4
playoff games? I mean, they got run all over, and Micah Parsons couldn't do anything about it.
Okay, let me ask you this: if you're looking at a win total for the Cowboys next year, if they traded Micah Parsons, would it go up or down? It'd go down by 2 to 3 games. I mean, like, honestly, it also signals, hey, we're in a full rebuild mode.
And that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and also too, but you know how old he is? He's 25.
He's super young. No,
Yeah.
it's not the age part of it. It's just I don't think it's a bad thing if a GM's going to say, give me your Godfather offer.
I do believe, Jerry. I think nobody in that building has said, let's trade Micah Parsons, because that'd be bananas. I don't think that has ever been uttered.
Well, maybe not, but he did say, how smart is it to have all this money tied to just a few guys?
Yeah, I don't know what Steven's talking about. I'm sure someone said, Jerry, let's trade Micah. He'd be like, no, you're fired.
Thank you, EJ Stewart. Thank you, Manny Rodriguez. Thank you to Pat Boyle, and to Andrew Kaplan, and to Chris Jericho, and to the Weedos.
You're in a 5-minute break.